fox5atlanta.com. We're also on Fox Local for your smartphones and streaming devices. HD2 FM. Don't go anywhere, because if you're watching on a TV, Portia's coming up next. If you're streaming with us, the 1 p.m. stream is coming your way. Have a great day, everyone. I'll see you tomorrow.
Welcome to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Jasmine Cornell. Thanks for joining us here at 1 p.m. where we're streaming on Fox Local, TikTok, and YouTube. Remember, this is a news conversation, so if you want to weigh in on any of the stories that we're covering, feel free to do so in the comment section, and we'll try to address your comments. Let's get into some of our top stories from today. We know that a water main break near Buford or on Buford Highway caused some issues for drivers in that area. So a water main break and road surface collapse have shut down all the lanes of Buford Highway or State Route 13 near Sugarloaf Parkway, causing some major disruptions for drivers in Gwinnett County. Now, officials say the collapse happened again in that area, State Route 13 eastbound, while the water main break forced the closure of all northbound and southbound lanes between Sugarloaf Parkway and South Scales Road. Emergency crews are on the scene working to repair the damage and reopen the roadways as quickly and safely as possible. So be careful if you're heading that way today. Here's what you're being urged to do. Drivers are being asked to avoid that area and use alternate routes due to the expected significant delays. Authorities also recommend checking 511 Georgia for real-time traffic updates. So again, this story broke earlier this morning, still impacting drivers right now. All those lanes still shut down. This happening in Gwinnett County at Sugarloaf Parkway and Buford Highway. So be careful if you are heading that way. Moving forward now, multiple people, 6 people that is, were arrested for a murder over here in the Metro Atlanta area. This is actually in Barrow County, not in the Atlanta area. But here's the details for the story. This is being reported as a robbery in that area. Deputies say they responded to a report of a robbery and assault at a home on Red Oak Way around 2:10 p.m. yesterday. Again, this is Barrow County. And when they got to the scene, deputies found 40-year-old Casey Latrell Watts unconscious and began CPR. He was then taken to a local hospital where he died. Investigators later determined the incident actually began at a home on White Oak Way. So six suspects, that is, arrested in this case. Here are their names and ages. Sharita Lachey Davis, she's 34. There's 19-year-old Ezion Tymir Edwards, 20-year-old Robert John Arnold, 20-year-old Micavius Lewis Mayweather, 17-year-old Antravion Gary Hill, and 21-year-old Jamarion Floyd Lewis. So their ages range from 17 to 34. All 6 of them arrested at the scene. All are from Winder. So each person faces 1 count of murder, aggravated assault, and being a party to a crime. So here's what we don't know in this story. Authorities have not yet released a specific motive for the robbery or detailed the relationship between the 6 suspects and the victim. It is also unclear what kind of weapon, if any, was used during this assault. All 6 suspects are being held at the Barrow County Detention Center, and we have requested their mugshots. We're waiting to receive those. When we have those, we'll show you those suspects. Moving forward, let's talk about what Fox 5 News is working on today. Let's bring in assignment manager Tanya Mendoza. She has a look at some of those stories here. And Tanya, one of these breaking overnight, a teenager shot at a gas station in Southwest Atlanta. So let's talk about that first.
That's right. Our reporter Annie Mapp is out on the scene of where this took place over on Metropolitan Parkway. And about 2:13 a.m. this morning, Atlanta police were called out. There was a shooting there, and the Fulton County medical examiner has identified the shooting victim as Rashawn Mackey. He was found inside that store right there, that gas station, with a gunshot wound to the chest. and they said he died on the scene. Police are searching for a single shooter who appeared to be upset before the encounter. No suspect description is available at this time. Authorities believe the shooting may have been random. While initially described as an Uber Eats driver, Uber stated he was not employed by them, and police have not confirmed his employment status. That's where it all gets tricky, because overnight we did have some sound from police. Let's hear what they said.
He was with a couple other individuals, so we've spoken with them, and so it seems like they were just a group of people out just doing some work, delivering, picking up orders.
So police said that it was some sort of delivery driver, and they originally said Uber Eats, but now they're saying that they cannot confirm who this teenager worked for. So we're just waiting for the details on this case to clear up, and Annie to get more information, hopefully on the victim and on the suspect and what actually went down overnight there.
A very scary situation for anybody, especially a teenager. And it's also sad that we keep reporting on teens being shot here. A very sad story. Looking forward to see what comes out of this case and when they announce a suspect. Moving forward, Tanya, what's happening in Coweta County? So it sounds like some people were trying to break in.
Okay, yeah. So in Coweta County, I'm going to pull over my notes on this one. This is what Doug Evans is working on. Sounds like some people were trying to break into an office. Okay, I think we're rolling the wrong video, but I'm going to just talk right now about this Coweta. Thank you. Coweta County Sheriff's Office says that there was some individuals that attempted to break into an office, and the office was on Georgia Power's property in that area on West Highway 16. Multiple items were reported stolen, with a total value exceeding $4,000. It sounds like later at a traffic stop on Potts Road, they discovered some of the items that were reported stolen from that location, and then that led them to a house where there was more items found. So they arrested a total of 4 people. Coweta made the arrest, but the later location, the home where they found more of the items that were recovered, was actually in Carroll County. That's what Doug Evans is working on. He has some mugshots, the charges, and everything on that story, so he'll update us on that later.
Interesting story here. So they were trying to break into a Georgia Power facility. Wow. So interested to see where that goes as well. Let's talk about this Turning Point USA event that has been making headlines. Some people are against this. Vice President J.D. Vance going to UGA. So let's talk about this story.
That's right. So our reporter Chris King's on the way right now to Athens, where at the University of Georgia today, Vice President J.D. Vance and Turning Point USA CEO Erika Kirk are visiting and holding an event there. It starts at 5 o'clock. I think doors open at 1, where there will be probably crowds lining up to go in and listen to them speak. We do know that there is one protest scheduled, and that's by being held by the UGA Young Democrats. They've organized a demonstration outside the venue to protest policies associated with the Trump administration. So we'll have that story. We'll have both sides. We'll cover the event, and that's what Chris King will be on. He'll probably start doing little preview reports at 4, and have more on that later throughout the night.
Thanks, Tanya, for giving us an update on that story. Moving forward, let's talk about something lighter here. One of my favorite singers, Chris Brown and Usher, are coming together for a tour. This sounds like some good news to me.
Yeah, so big entertainment news for Atlanta. Recently Chris Brown and Usher announced that they're going on tour together. And they announced today they're going to have 2 shows at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on November 7th and 8th. There is a pre-sale sign up for that on April 21st through, I guess, Live Nation. It's going to be a big deal for fans of Chris Brown and Atlanta's Usher. So big news there with on the concert scene. I know there's some other big concerts going on this year, including Shakira and the Eagles throughout Metro Atlanta. But that's a pretty big one to top right there.
Yes, and they both have some major hits, huge stars here. Looking forward to them coming to the Atlanta area. Tanya, thanks for joining us to talk about what Fox 5 News is working on today. Guys, let's move forward to some of our national stories here. So first, as Congress returns to Washington today, 2 House members announced they're leaving their posts early amid sexual misconduct allegations. 2 more House members are facing ethics investigations here and could lose their seats as well following allegations of sexual assault and sexual misconduct. And we're talking about Congressman Eric Swallwell. We've been talking about him already, too, this week. He says he's leaving Congress. Swallwell was one of the leading Democratic candidates in the California governor's race before dropping out on Sunday. And he recently posted on social media that is, quote, "I'm deeply sorry to my family, staff, and constituents for mistakes and judgment I've made in the past. I will fight the serious false allegations made against me. However, I must take responsibility and ownership for the mistakes I did make," end quote. And we do know that one of his accusers spoke in a press conference that happened around 12:30 today as she spoke with her attorneys. Swalwell was facing bipartisan calls for an expulsion vote over the allegations, as is Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez of Texas, who admitted to having an affair with a staffer who later took her own life. And in a statement yesterday, Gonzalez, again, he's in Texas, said he would file his retirement when Congress returns to Washington today. So 2 other House members, Republican Corey Mills and Democrat Sheila Sharifalis McCormick, both from Florida, are also facing bipartisan calls for expulsion votes over ethics allegations. And despite their announcements, it's unclear when Swalwell and Gonzalez will leave Congress. So some big stories here, a major shakeup in Congress with people resigning and leaving. Moving forward to the war in the Middle East, tensions, of course, are growing still in this war as attacks continue. And those tensions are growing in the Strait of Hormuz as well, where the U.S. naval blockade is now covering all Iranian ports. And as demining efforts ramp up, President Trump is warning Iran's Navy to stay clear or they'll be, quote, eliminated. The Pentagon is now surging naval forces in the region, including a 3rd carrier strike group, the USS George Bush. Experts say they'll be needed if Iranian ships try to run the blockade. It comes as diplomatic efforts are intensifying. Iran is reportedly offering a 5-year pause on its nuclear program, while President Trump is demanding a 20-year freeze. The White House now hoping the combined economic and military pressure from the blockade will force the regime to reconsider. But on Capitol Hill, Democrats are pushing a new war powers resolution that could limit the president's options. They claim the best way to contain Iran's nuclear program is to return to the original deal signed by President Barack Obama. Iran says the next round of talks is expected to take place later this week or early next week, with diplomats hoping to extend the ceasefire here. Your time is 1:13, that is. It's April 14th. That's why I said 4. But it's 1:13 when we return. We'll talk about Fox Theater and have some information on their spring lineup. Welcome back this afternoon. Spring is bringing a fresh energy to Atlanta's iconic Fox Theater with a new season packed with live entertainment and immersive experiences. Let's go ahead and bring in Jamie Vossmeyer with Fox Theater to talk about their lineup. Thanks for joining us, Jamie.
Thank you so much for having me. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. So spring always bringing that new, fresh energy. How does this season at Fox Theater reflect that shift for the audiences?
Everyone says spring has sprung, and it's definitely sprung here at the Fox. With a return of Six the Musical. If you didn't get a chance to see it when it was here a few years ago, now's your chance. Regions Bank Broadway in Atlanta has brought it back. So we're so excited to host Six the Musical. And we have so many shows that have gone on sale recently that are available now. We have a Mother's Day with Escape. We have Jill Scott coming, Rick Ross coming. We've got the film High Fidelity with a special live appearance from John Cusack. And then in May, at the end of May, we're doing an event in the Marquee Club, which is called Women in Wine. That happens on May 21st. And that's a great opportunity for folks who've not gotten to go to the Marquee Club for whatever reason to experience the club without a live event. So you get to come and have wine and listen to some amazing women talk about wine. So we're really proud of that event.
That sounds great. Thanks for sharing. You mentioned Jill Scott, Rick Ross. Sounds like a good time for audience members, like for events like live screening of High Fidelity that you mentioned. What makes those one-night experiences so special for audience members?
Well, we are rooted in film history. The Fox Theater was built we opened Christmas Day, 1929, as a movie palace. So it really and truly honors our movie heritage. It's a part of our Coca-Cola film series that's been woven into the fabric of Atlanta for almost 100 years. So seeing a movie at the Fox is not like seeing a movie anywhere else. So even if you've seen High Fidelity before, you've not seen it at the Fox. And then the icing on the cake is having John Cusack there to speak and hear him talk about his experience on the film and everything.
And so tell us, how is Fox Theater evolving beyond just performances itself?
So we are exceptionally lucky. The Fox also has a community outreach arm called Fox Gives. And what that does is provides opportunities for the Fox to give grants to other historic theaters across the state of Georgia. So we're revitalizing communities one theater at a time. And we're also able to, with this new program that we have that we're a year into now called the All Access Pass program, we have an arts education program that actually provides high schoolers with interest in vocation in the arts that's not on stage. So we make connections with all the things that are happening around the art, like marketing and ticketing and backstage, like rigging and all those types of things. So we're really, really proud of that.
Thanks so much for sharing, Jamie. The next question for you, let's talk about the Fox Theater gift shop and what visitors can expect when they go there.
Well, let me tell you, the gift shop feels like a Moroccan bazaar. It's beautiful. And as you would expect the gift shop to be at the Fox Theater, but the gifts in the gift shop, the merchandise in the gift shop is truly curated for and very unique. We have a lot of wearables, T-shirts, sweatshirts. We have if you're a Broadway fan and you collect your Encore programs, we have brand new leather binders for those programs. So there's something for everyone in our gift shop. You can take home note cards, you can take home anything, but we've never had a gift shop like this. So it's history making. And it's open 3 hours before every show and an hour after every show, and then Mondays, Thursdays, and Saturdays when we have tours.
Sharing, Jamie. Before we let you go, just want to know where people can go to find more information about upcoming shows and performances.
Everything we talked about today, follow us on all of our socials and foxtheater.org.
Jamie, thanks so much for joining us. We hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Bye. So, guys, we're going to move forward now and talk weather. It is pretty hot outside. I don't know about you, but I'm enjoying it. Alex Forbes, our meteorologist, is here to talk about the forecast.
Yeah, so warm out there and going to be breaking some records here in the next couple of days. So buckle up. Here we go. At least we don't have the humidity to contend with. 80 degrees now in Atlanta here at just 1 in the afternoon. For reference, our average high temperature is 73, so well above that just at the 1 o'clock hour. 80 in Dalton, 77 in Blairsville, 82 over in Athens, 82 in Eatonton, and 79 in Thomaston at this hour. Not much in the way of cloud cover out there, just 1 or 2 puffy cumulus clouds, and that's about it. And that's all to expect for the afternoon under mostly clear skies. Temperatures getting into the mid-80s before all is said and done. I'm forecasting a high temperature today around 86. Earliest we've ever hit 90 is April 23rd. I think we're going to hit it by the time we get to Friday. So the heat's going to continue and the low humidity is going to continue. That breeze out of the southwest is going to continue, and all of those ingredients combined with the drought situation we have is setting up high fire danger. We've got that today. We're going to keep that around for the next several days. And I'm not talking about necessarily fires just spontaneously starting. We don't really do that here in Georgia, but instead what I'm referring to is people who go and light the leaves on fire in their front yard, trying to get rid of them, things like that, or something as simple as flicking a cigarette butt out the window. That's never a good idea, first and foremost, but especially on a day like today and for the next several days. So 86 in Canton this afternoon, 87 over in Eatonton, 87 in Athens, 86 in Dalton. But look at this. We're going to the upper 80s and low 90s here through the days ahead. This is more indicative of late May rather than mid-April. And in fact, that 90-degree temperature on Friday, like we were just talking about, that would be a record earliest 90-degree high. 20% chance of rain there on Sunday. We need a whole lot more than that, though. All right, so I did some number crunching this morning and found that we need about 18 to 19 inches of rain in the next 3 months to put a drought to an end. Well, we're not starting that off on a good note this week, right? Only a slim 20% chance of seeing something on Sunday. Then as we get into next week, highs back into the 70s, a little more seasonable for this time of year, Jasmine, but that's still going to be above the norm for us here in Metro Atlanta and North Georgia. Average high is 73, so only by just a couple of degrees as we start next week.
All right, Alex, thanks for joining us to talk weather. Still ahead here on Fox 5 News Live, the next set of stars to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. We'll get into that. And free stuff you can expect on Tax Day, which is tomorrow. Welcome back to Fox 5 News Live, our news conversation here. Let's get into the stories that you are clicking on the most on our website, fox5atlanta.com. And we're going to bring in Sam Daniel, Fox 5's digital content creator. Sam, this first story, everybody is talking about it on social media. T.I.'s son, King Harris, getting arrested.
I know, Jasmine, and it's been our top story all day long, and it is more than double our number 2 story. So people are really interested in this story. Like you said, rapper King Harris, the son of Atlanta rapper T.I. and Tiny, was arrested Sunday morning in Gwinnett County during a traffic stop. Police say that he was speeding and they ended up finding drugs on him. So he's been charged with possession of a Schedule II controlled substance. According to TMZ, Harris was driving 60 miles per hour in a 45 mile per hour zone. That's when cops pulled him over. They say they spotted a firearm on him and that Harris reportedly refused to get out of the car. So police ended up searching the car and they found a THC vape pen on him. Now, Harris went to social media. He has a large following there because he is a rapper. He is the son of famous rapper T.I. And he pointed out that he was wearing, you can kind of see it in his mugshot on your screen, a Pikachu onesie. So he addressed it saying that living a good Pikachu life in Tokyo, and then he came back to ATL where Team Rocket caught him with a master ball and threw him in jail for the night. And so I had to Google, I'm not a huge Pokemon person. A master ball is like a powerful ball in Pokemon that can be used to catch powerful different Pokemon characters. So he was really leaning into the Pokemon thing there. One quick note, Harris has faced legal troubles in Georgia in the past. In 2024, he was accused of nearly hitting a police officer at a Dunwoody gas station and was taken into custody after an officer smelled marijuana in his car. But those charges out of Pickens County were later dropped in August 2025.
Yes, this story is so crazy, especially the Pikachu reference there. I'm with you. I don't know much about Pokemon and Pikachu, but I thought it was very interesting that he compared his arrest to that. And I know many people are talking about that specifically on social media. Yes, very interested to see what happens in this case here. Again, he was arrested in Gwinnett County. This next story is crazy as well. An elderly woman robbed a bank, but she returned the money.
It's so odd, and we've been talking about this at the assignment desk up here trying to figure out exactly what happened. So this happened in Glendale, Alabama, which is just north of Birmingham off of I-65. So she hasn't been charged yet, but police there say they are investigating this unidentified elderly woman for allegedly robbing a Regions bank on April 10th. They said she robbed it using a note that she put down and demanded money, but as soon as she got the money from the bank, she went to the Gardendale Police Department and voluntarily turned over the money. Police say she acted alone. There's no threat to the public. But then this is where it gets kind of interesting, and we started kind of talking, trying to figure out more of the narrative here. The woman has a caregiver. Police have notified her and given the elderly woman back to the caregiver. So we're not sure if there is some sort of Alzheimer's going on there or if there's something that causes her to act out in some sort of way. But so far, no charges have been pressed, and police said they will release additional information when it's available.
Oh, this story is sad too, because you bring up a good point there. We are not sure if she's has any disabilities, but she did return that money, and then officials are also saying no injuries were reported in this case as well, which is good news to come out of this story.
Yes, but it's very odd just to rob a bank and then immediately take it to police.
It is definitely odd. Moving forward, tomorrow is a tax day. I hope you filed your taxes.
I have not filed my taxes.
Oh my goodness.
That's on my to-do list today.
Okay, Sam, but we can expect some freebies, so let's talk about that.
Yeah, everybody hates tax day, right? I mean, most of us, unfortunately, don't get a huge return, but there are several businesses offering tax day treats. So one that stands out to me, my favorite place, makes me feel like I'm back in my childhood. Great American Cookies. You find them all over the malls. They have some freestanding stores as well. But tomorrow for tax day, if you buy one cookie slice, you get another one free. So that's a really good treat, right? You might not get a tax return, but you can get a free cookie. Kona Ice is also offering a free Kona-shaped ice tomorrow. And the Maple Street Biscuit Company is offering customers who dine in and show proof that they have seen this tax day promotion, which we've linked in the article you're showing on your screen right now. They will get 3 free Bonuts, which is a biscuit donut hybrid. Olive Garden has some deals. Portillo's, which just opened a shop up just north of Atlanta. Lots of different places. They're all kind of like national chains, but they have places here in Atlanta. Tons of deals to find if you go to fox5atlanta.com, and people are really clicking on that.
Yes, I'm not surprised that this is a big story that people are clicking on our website there. I'm going to have to look myself. I meal prep for the week, but I can put that to the side just to get some of these freebies.
Yeah, or just get some dessert. Just get a cookie, and you can bring the free one to me. You buy it and bring me the free one. There you go.
Okay. I see what you're doing.
Well, cheers tomorrow with it on the 1 o'clock.
Okay, sounds good, Sam. Thanks for joining our live stream today to talk about what's trending on our website. I don't think. Guys, let's move forward now and talk about the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Some more good news here. I don't know if you listen to rock and roll music, but I do a little bit. So the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame has unveiled its 2026 inductee class featuring 18 artists across multiple different categories. Honorees include legendary R&B singer Luther Vandross, alternative rocker Oasis, punk rocker icon Billy Idol, and hip-hop group the Wu-Tang Clan. Also making the list are Phil Collins and Iron Maiden. Also, Joy Division and New Order. Hip-hop pioneers MC Lyte and Queen Latifah will be honored as well for their influence. The induction ceremony takes place on November 14th in Los Angeles, and so that's something to look out for later this year. Moving forward, let's talk about the Artemis II mission. We know that the astronauts are back home here in the U.S. The U.S. Navy successfully recovered the Artemis II crew and their Orion capsule in the Pacific Ocean after it completed its 10-day mission around the moon. Now the Navy team is reacting to being part of this historic moment as the Artemis II crew ended their lunar mission and landed safely in the Pacific Ocean. The U.S. Navy was just starting theirs. Recovering the 4 astronauts was a highly coordinated multi-team effort, which included Navy corpsmen, doctors, and divers from the Explosive Ordnance Disposal Group 1. The team sailed about a mile into the ocean to stabilize and open the capsule, assess the astronauts, and get them back to the waiting area at USS John P. Murtha. This historic moment was not lost on the sailors who have been training since 2013 for this exact occasion. The capsule is being inspected in San Diego. When checks are complete, it will make its journey back to the Kennedy Space Center, which is in Florida. Pretty cool story there. And this is just how the U.S. Navy was a part of this historic mission. Legendary TV actors Patrick Duffy and Linda Pearl are in town. They're celebrating the launch of their bake-at-home bread line, Duffy's Dough, right here in Metro Atlanta at Kroger locations across the area. Fox 5's Paul Milliken stopped by the Glenwood Kroger for a sample.
Where there is a red carpet, we're going to be there. You already know that. Even when it's here at Kroger. We're at the Glenwood Kroger right now, and there's a couple behind me I think you're going to recognize. He's from Dallas, she's Matlock's daughter, and that means they are right at home here in the South. feel like, even though I'm saying welcome to Atlanta, you're honorary Southerners. I mean, you're Matt Locke's daughter. You're from Dallas. Do you feel at home in the South here?
Well, the accent's familiar.
Very good. Very good. So talk about what you're doing today, Linda.
Well, we're here because we're launching Duffy's Dough, a bread line of sourdough take and bake that we launched at Kroger.
Yeah.
And all of our profits go to food scarcity, so we feel very fortunate to be aligned with Kroger's profound zero hunger, zero waste program.
Well, and Duffy's Dough has such a fascinating story. This goes back like 70 years. Tell me how this started.
Yeah, over 70. It's in 1952. My mother was gifted a sourdough starter in Alaska. We were up there as a family for a year and a half, and it's been in our family unadulterated for over 74 years now. And I grew up eating sourdough pancakes and sourdough breads. My sister took it, then I took it, and we decided, about 5 years ago, what can we do to pay it forward? We've been very fortunate in our careers, and the world doesn't need to see us form another company to make money, so we give away 100% of the profits from our bread company to food-based charities.
Yeah, that's amazing. When did you first get a taste of the famous Duffy's Dough?
Sure, about 6 years ago, cinnamon rolls was my first bite, and I was hooked. So yeah, there's no turning back. And when we went into business with Kroger, we sent the dehydrated starter to the bakery in Cincinnati home base, and they perfected it, and that starter actually exists in the machine in the bakery in Maryland. So as Patrick said, every bite of the current take and bake sourdough breads is actually made from that original starter.
Wow. Okay, so it's amazing that is possible. So I'm going to ask you the tough question. What's your favorite?
What's your favorite? Linda always says it's like picking your favorite child.
Well, look, this is hard-hitting news. We need an answer.
All right. I would say the multigrain is probably. So we have 5. There's something for everyone. There's a sandwich roll, a dinner roll, the multigrain loaf, the good traditional old-fashioned sourdough loaf, and then 2 sourdough baguettes. So, and the thing with the sourdough is that you can do everything from French toast to a garlic rub on it.
Some good sourdough. Finally, what do you think those generations of Duffys that came before you would think about this?
We talk about this more often than you think. What would my mother think, receiving this little mason jar of starter, in 1952, to walking into a Kroger and seeing this type of display and quantity and purpose of this, and it actually, instead of me, should probably have my mother's picture.
You've made it when you get that, though.
When you get your own picture, yeah.
All right, that bread does look good there. If you want to meet Patrick Duffy and Linda Pearl, they'll be at the Terrell Mill Kroger today from 3:30 to 5 p.m. And that's on Powers Ferry Road Southeast in Marietta. Coming up next, we are talking about some highlights, some anticipated movies you can expect to see coming later this year. Welcome back to Fox 5 News Live. I'm Jasmine Cornell here with our Ariel Onstadt. She hosts the 2 p.m. show, and she's going to talk about what you can expect.
So, Jasmine, we've got a lot on tap coming up at 2 o'clock. We're going to speak to our Ray Urena about the latest regarding that deadly DeKalb shooting spree. We're learning more information about the man accused of shooting at least 3 times, and we're learning more about his past, specifically some different allegations in different states, cases that have been investigated against him. So that's something we're going to be looking into. We're also going to be looking at, with our Kevin Stewart, a discussion on how this tech corridor is fueling growth in North Georgia. So this is really unique. He spoke to a realtor, spoke to some others, and that's something that we're going to try to figure out as we've seen our state and our city continue to grow. Now it seems that's really expanding even beyond just the metro area.
All right, that sounds good, Ariel. Looking forward to those stories, especially learning more about the man who was accused of that DeKalb County shooting spree. That is crazy. Yeah,
absolutely.
Thanks for joining us to talk about what's coming up here at 2, and you all can catch those stories. So stay tuned after this show. Moving forward, we're going to talk about something lighter here. You're taking a live look outside, and maybe the nice weather makes you want to go see a movie. So let's talk about what you can expect here in April on when it comes to movies. So we know that the Oscars are over, but conversations around film are still going. Film historian, professor, and author Monica Sandler, she joins us to break down how awards ceremony shaped the movie industry and what you all can expect this month and beyond when it comes to movies. Thanks for joining us.
Hi, thanks for having me.
So, Monica, with the award season behind us, what's one key takeaway from this year's Oscars that still matters today?
I mean, I think that the 2 big films of the year that were really competing over the course of the award season were One Battle After Another and Sinners, who were both big winners of the night. One Battle, of course, taking Best Picture overall. But the big thing, I think, is that those were 2 films that were really distributed for theatrical distribution, that, you know, this is about going out to see movies. We live in an era of Netflix. There isn't necessarily like people are watching movies at home. But these were both films that were designed not just to go to the theaters, but for kind of experience. There was a discussion about you have to see One Battle After Another in VistaVision, and Ryan Coogler gave this sort of incredible he had this circulating viral video online where he talked about the different film formats for how you should see Sinners, where you're seeing sort of director's vision is really about going to the theater. And I think that's been really one of the big takeaways, is that theatrical distribution is kind of still alive and well, and the impact of that. And we particularly see that going into this week, which is CinemaCon in Las Vegas happening right now, where you see the premieres of a lot of the studios announcing what their big theater openings will be for this year.
Right, that sounds good. And Sinners was such a great movie. Now, you're a film scholar. You study this. What upcoming movie releases are people the most excited about, or are film scholars the most excited about?
Film scholars is one thing versus another. For me, at least, the film I'm most excited for, at least in the coming weeks, is called I Love Boosters, which is by Bruce Riley, he's directed one other feature-length film, but as an emerging artist. But the film itself is, they've been talking about it during the Neon Showcase today, but that's the one I'm looking forward to. There are also big projects like The Odyssey, which will be coming out in the kind of next film from Christopher Nolan, a huge, big name auteur, as well as Dune 3 kind of being the concluding showcase. And there was a big sort of battle for getting your IMAX tickets for that last week as the kind of big events of the year.
Now, are there any trends, any themes you're seeing in this year's upcoming films when it comes to storytelling?
Yeah, I mean, I think it is about finding a reason why you should pay to go see movies in theaters. Like, this is the really big question mark. One of the films that has really showcased that recently is a film called The Drama, which was released by A24 and has been their largest theatrical opening of a film in their history. And basically, the film, which has some elements of controversy in them, the discourse around it has been like the impact of seeing the twists and turns that come out in the movie, which I won't get into for spoiler reasons, but that it's about this communal experience of everyone kind of going on a roller coaster of a movie and going on it together, really.
How are streaming platforms influencing the types of films that are being released this year?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think this is what I was kind of saying about Netflix, is that there is this kind of, should films be released to theaters, or should they be, transitioning to film, or from film to television? And I think that the case that's being made, and particularly driven home at CinemaCon right now, is really about like why people should get out, that there is this communal experience that comes from only seeing movies and seeing them on a big screen, and also having your full attention on the screen, as opposed to if you're watching on TV. I know I have a tendency to kind of lean towards my phone and get distracted from really exciting stories that I may not be as focused on.
Thanks for answering all these questions, Monica. I'm curious to know about indie films. Indie films are under the radar films. Are there any that we should be on the lookout for this year?
I Heart Boosters is the one I'm really pumped about, as I kind of said.
That sounds good. And I do want to know, you study this type of thing. How is the industry evolving when it comes to representation and diversity in these upcoming films?
Yeah, I mean, certainly a film like Sinners last year really showcased the change that have happened in Hollywood in the past decade. The Oscar So White movement was about a decade ago, and that really exposed not just that there was a systemic exclusion at the Academy Awards, but that this was a wider industrial issue that was worth addressing. And so you've seen the elevation of auteurs like Ryan Coogler in giving creative freedom to minority voices, really in a way that's never existed in Hollywood history. I mean, it makes me optimistic. There's still a lot of progress that can be made, but that there has been change, and the success of those films also being seen at the Oscars.
Monica, thank you so much for joining us to talk about this, giving your expertise on films coming out this year. All right, guys, we're going to move forward and talk about welding. So in honor of National Welding Month, a college, Fortis College in Smyrna, is hosting a campus-wide celebration today. Fox 5's Chris Rosenthal was there, and he has more on Try a Weld Day.
We talk a lot about skilled trades and the shortage really that there are of employees in the skilled trades, the big demand out there. And one of the jobs that's in the highest demand is welding. And a lot of the students here at Fortis College are hoping to get into a welding career that can be very lucrative, in fact. But today is a special day here at Fortis College because they're having a Try a Weld Day and a competition, student competition for these welding students. And I talked with Tori Alexis, he's the program director here, just about the industry, the demand, and the competition that they're having today.
It's a great field to go into. So I've been in the welding field since 1996, and I'm telling you, it's like really good. So you can go overseas, you can travel, you can do different things from state to state. The all field, structural, no matter what it is, it's always something with welding. As long as there's construction, there's welding.
And is there high demand for these jobs?
Yeah, it's very high demand. Some states are more than others, but Georgia's a good state for it because Georgia has union and non-union. So you have a lot of different potential hires.
So students that are studying welding, I mean, potentially very good amount of jobs and good paying jobs out there.
Yeah, great paying jobs. Actually, you can make a career out of it, whether it be 5 years, 10 years, or a whole career. You can find something to do with welding, whether it be in your garage or back of your house or one of the biggest companies in Georgia, you can weld.
And a lot of that training starts in a place like this, huh?
Yeah, most of it do. Here at Fortis, we do an intro to everything. So some schools don't do everything. This school does. We do flux core, MIG, stick, TIG, aluminum. So we do a lot of things that the field actually uses on a daily basis.
Talk to me today. You guys are having a little bit of competition. What's that about?
So today, what we have here, what we do here is a lot of work-related things, because a lot of schools don't do work-related stuff. So what we do, we'll get things that they'll use in the actual field, whether it be structural pipe or piping. So today, what we're going to do is some structural pipe. Students yesterday they took it and cleaned it and prepped it and got it ready for the competition. So we do competitions maybe every 2 weeks, give or take, something like that, and the winner gets a prize. So there'll be more of a, challenge instead of just saying like, oh, I know how to weld a bead or I know how to run a bead or something like that. They actually know how to finish a piece and a joint off and be ready to go to work.
And how does this help them get them prepared for getting out there and doing the real world?
So a lot of it that we do over here is work related. So when you go in the field, they expect you to weld, but they also expect you to know how to work. So if you don't know how to work and you just know how to weld, you probably won't keep your job that long. So what we do here, we do a lot of getting you ready to just step out into the field and be ready.
This behind me, they're working on some, these are simulated welders. Talk to me about what's going on here.
So what the simulators are, if you don't know nothing about welding, we get you involved in muscle memory, tactic, not being scared of the fire, knowing your body positioning, different things like that. So we also have structural, as he's doing right here, a 2G plate, and we also have piping, and we also have structural pipe, just like the piece that you seen earlier.
And of course, this is really all about the students. So I talked with some of the students as well, just about why they decided they wanted to get into the welding industry.
Hopefully the end goal is to, have my own fabrication company, at the end of the day, just managing a shop. But what I want to do when I get out of school, go join the pipeline, probably travel, stay local, you never know.
What is it about this career that attracts you to it?
It's really one of those careers where it's all on you. You can do whatever you want with it. It's wherever you take it. It's whatever you want to do with it. So it's one of those, you can just take control of it.
There's, big need for skilled labor, and welders are in big demand. Does that appeal to you as well?
Oh, for sure. It's a lot of people only know a handful of welders, not even a handful. So, it's a trade that's really needed.
And these are some of the prizes on the line today: gloves, shirts, even a welding mask here. But the real goal here is jobs. Some of the judges here are actually local employers, and some of these students actually walking away with jobs. The program here at Fortis College, 11 weeks takes. Back to you.
All right, what a wonderful story there, dealing with welding. With our Chris Rosenthal. But let's talk about what's happening on The Pulse tonight with Tom Haynes.
I gotta say, Chris Rosenthal is always on top of those job fairs and opportunities for people that like real life skills.
Yes,
right?
Absolutely.
Welding certainly one of them. High paying, good opportunities.
And it was very interesting. Earlier, he said that, or one of the people he interviewed said that women have done better with welding.
Yeah.
That was interesting to me.
A lot of these programs provide the pathway to getting your certification. They train you, they certify you, and then they place you. So always terrific from Chris Rosenthal and those kind of jobs. Jasmine, when you think of a couple going through therapy, what comes to mind? Like, what do they do? Where do they go? Who do they see?
I think it's a positive experience for couples. It can be a positive experience, maybe to help work through communication issues or just different issues.
So you're thinking like they go to see like a marriage counselor or something like that. All right. Well, tonight at 7 on The Pulse, every weeknight at 7, which you can stream right here on Fox Local, we're going to talk about film therapy for couples. And you're like, what is film therapy? Film therapy, a new way that some therapists are recommending couples solve their problems, all right? The strategy tasks partners to watch movies together, which serves as an activity to help couples work through their emotions.
Okay.
So when you're having a problem with your significant other, forget going to the therapist. Just plop down on the couch and watch a movie. Hopefully you pick one that's kind of relevant to whatever it is you're going through. But I don't know, sometimes movies can kind of get me down. They get a little too dramatic and it gets my wheels spinning, but
that's true. That's true.
I don't know. So we're going to discuss if we think this is a good idea, and if you do or do not, we want to hear from you. Go to fox5atlanta.com/pulse to weigh in, and we always read some of your comments on the air when we're discussing all this. So,
all right, that sounds good. Sounds like an interesting conversation there. Tom, thank you.
Good stuff, Jasmine. Thanks.
And guys, I do want to get out to this live conference happening here. This is a woman making a sexual misconduct allegations against Representative Erika Swallwell. Let's listen in to her and her attorney.
Understand how to deal with the trauma, to work through it, and to get to a point where she is strong enough to come forward. It takes time. That's why the law has extended statutes of limitations, time deadlines to file, because the law recognizes that sexual assault allegations are different, and it just takes time. So for Lana, now is the time. And even now, it's very difficult, but she's doing it.
Ms. Drews, had you followed Eric Swallwell's political career, and if you're comfortable talking a little bit about how that made you feel, and just kind of seeing his face?
She's not going to be answering any questions. Okay. She had her statement. But
Can you answer that?
Thank you. Was she following his career? I don't know.
Ms. Bloom, I guess some who know Mr. Swallwell have suggested that he was living a secret life, a double life, and they were absolutely gobsmacked at all the accusations that have come. Whether in this particular instance, or perhaps in your experience, is that usually the case, that people who are around someone like him are just totally in the dark on this, or are there clues? Are there people who should have known something was wrong?
Well, it is very common when someone is multiply accused of sexual misconduct that the people around them don't know. That's very common. Or any kind of crimes. People on the street often say, I had no idea. So I think that's pretty common.
Do you have a message for the social media content creators who started publishing some of these allegations and helped these women to realize maybe for the first time that they were not alone in what happened?
Yes. Thank you. Thank you to the women on social media, to the women who have already come forward, to anyone who has been an advocate, anyone who has assisted. It's very hard to do this by yourself. And anyone who can support women, who can help them, who can advocate, who can speak out, it makes a tremendous difference. So thank you.
All right, guys, again, that's a live press conference happening right now in California. This is the woman making sexual misconduct allegations against Representative Eric Swallwell. She's appearing in this conference with her attorneys. We'll continue to cover this story. Again, she was speaking there in California. Your time is 1:58. Our news continues at 2 p.m.
Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here at 2 o'clock. We have a really busy day of news, both here locally and nationally. Want to get you the latest from some lawmakers who are leaving their posts because of allegations of sexual misconduct and other misconduct allegations. We're going to talk about it. We've also got a lot of other local headlines to get to, and I'd like to start with new details that are now emerging regarding a suspect involved in that deadly shooting spree in DeKalb County yesterday morning. We're learning a little bit more about the suspect's past, other crimes that he's been accused of. So, Ray, you've been digging into this really all morning. I know we've talked about it, what you've been finding out. What can you share with us this afternoon?
Yeah, Olau Lucatan Aiden Abel, Ariel, was scheduled to appear for his first court appearance, but he ended up waiving that right this afternoon. As you mentioned, he's the person that police believe is accused of killing 2 women and injuring another man in a shooting spree yesterday morning. And within the last hour, a magistrate judge referred the case over to Superior Court, saying it's a Superior Court only case. Investigators in DeKalb County and Brookhaven say he allegedly went on a deadly shooting spree in across 3 locations, that being a Checkers along Wesley Chapel Road, a Kroger at Cherokee Plaza, and along Battle Forest Drive early Monday morning. Fox 5 has confirmed that Aiden Abel was previously arrested and convicted of a felony in California in 2024. We're working to learn more about this incident. Court documents show he has pleaded guilty to 4 misdemeanor charges of sexual battery out of Savannah last year. Documents state he was sentenced to 48 months probation, was banned from Savannah for 4 years, and ordered to obtain a psychosexual social evaluation and to follow any recommended treatment. Here's a clip of a conversation between the judge and the public defender's office at his first court date that ended in just the last 30 minutes.
You were able to go over all those warrants with him, and you waived formal reading of those warrants?
Yes, Judge. An attorney from our office has already been out to see him. We do waive formal reading.
All right, great. Thank you very much. That is a Superior Court only case, and so I know you'll be following up with him about filing a motion in Superior Court. All right.
And we have learned that the victim in the Battle Forest Drive incident has been identified as 40-year-old Lauren Bullis. Neighbors told us yesterday that she was the friendly face of the neighborhood and would often be seen walking her dog around the neighborhood. We are still waiting to learn more about the woman who was killed over at the Checkers, as well as an update on the man who was shot outside of the Kroger. But Aiden Abel is facing multiple charges, including those 2 murder charges, aggravated assault, and weapons possession. Ariel?
Incredible turn of events. You know, we were reporting on these 3 shootings in DeKalb yesterday morning, and this happens often where we get called to these shooting scenes and then learning that they were all connected due to this one suspect. Police later coming out and telling us that yesterday evening. But backing up here just a little bit, understanding that in this most recent shooting spree, there are 3 victims, 2 women that have been killed, and a 3rd person who's in critical condition as of now. And you're finding out that there's a long list of criminal history that this man has faced previously. Have police addressed that at all with you, or given any indication about some of what you're finding out today?
Well, we reached out to Brookhaven Police earlier today, and they told us and they confirmed that they have that felony arrest and conviction out of California in 2024. But beyond that, we have not heard anything from police about what that may have been. And during our research, we were able to find those sexual battery pleas out of Chatham County, where Savannah is located, and that we were able to secure his sentencing documents and what the court ordered, what he can and can't do following those plea deals. Ariel, that's kind of how we've gone through our process, our journalistic process, and finding out exactly what is behind Mr. Aiden Abel's history prior to the events that happened yesterday morning.
Ray, final question for you here as we continue. Any other big questions you're trying to get worked out today? Big things you're trying to figure out for us as we see you again later this evening?
Yeah, we're trying to figure out why, like, what caused this to happen like in the first place, like what was the motive behind it? That's still been unclear and not been answered by investigators. We're hoping to learn more about that in the days and weeks to come, but that is one big question that we still don't have the answer to, Ariel.
Yeah, why? It is the question of why eludes us, and it is something that so many people want answers to, especially considering where these shootings happened were isolated, a Kroger parking lot, a woman walking her dog in a DeKalb County neighborhood, just heartbreaking, and it really puts you in the perspective of that person could have been any one of us. We all go to the grocery store, we all might walk our dogs in the morning in our neighborhood, and so understanding how these victims, was it random, what happened here, definitely hoping to get that motive answered. So Ray, thank you so much for joining us, digging into this a little deeper. We'll see you again later this evening. As we continue, you guys, if you have any questions on this case, let us know, and I can send it along to Ray as he continues to speak with law enforcement and try to get answers. But in the meantime, let's talk about some stories we're following closely here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. So there is a rapper, King Harris, who has just been arrested for speeding and drug possession. Now, King Harris was arrested Sunday morning in Gwinnett County on several charges. He's the son of T.I. and Tiny, and he's reportedly refused to leave his vehicle during the traffic stop. He was wearing a Pikachu onesie at the time. He was released from custody after posting bond following the weekend incident. It's not currently clear why he initially refused to exit that vehicle. And while jail records, like I mentioned, confirm he has posted bond, a future court date for these specific charges has not yet been listed. So we'll keep you updated as that progresses. I also want to let you know that a teenager has been killed at a gas station in southwest Atlanta on Metropolitan Parkway. That happened early this morning. So let's get into it, because Atlanta police initially say the victim was in his late teens or early 20s and was shot during an encounter with another man. Investigators are trying to find that single shooter and are working to pull surveillance images from the store. At this point, our Annie Mapp is following up with investigators. She's going to join us live at 3 to share what she knows. But despite life-saving efforts, the teen, who may have been a food delivery driver at the time, died at the scene. So this heartbreaking situation that we're working to get more information on. Just seeing this here in my notes, we were able to confirm from the Fulton County medical examiner, this 17-year-old, he was 17-year-old's name is Rashawn Mackey. So as this continues, we'll keep you updated. Up in Athens, we know that a Turning Point USA is making a stop on campus as part of a multi-campus tour across the country. They're going to have high-profile guests expected to attend, like Vice President J.D. Vance. So the Vice President will be in Athens today, along with Turning Point CEO Erika Kirk, widow of Charlie Kirk. She's actually the CEO of Turning Point USA. So now we also know that some student groups are planning protests outside of the venue during this. The UGA Young Democrats say they plan to hold a demonstration outside the venue. So we'll keep you updated on both sides of this as the Turning Point USA organization continues this campus tour and visits Athens later this afternoon. But as we continue here at 2 o'clock, I want to continue to keep you updated on some stories that we're following here in the newsroom. So in just a little bit, we're going to bring in our Tyler Fingert for an update on a story that, and you guys, you can see what I'm doing right now. I'm giving Tyler the eyes across the newsroom to come up here and share what he knows on his story. So let him get over here. I'm going to zoom out real quick because he's been working on this all day, and I want to make sure you guys get the latest. Perfect. All right, Tyler, we'll give you a moment to get mic'd up here. The U.S. Marshals, you guys, let's zoom up here. The U.S. Marshals have just made a massive drug bust. They arrested 78 people, recovered 46 illegal firearms and 57 pounds of illegal narcotics. And Tyler, I understand in your work, speaking with the U.S. Marshals, this was a big effort through their fugitive task force.
Yeah, so basically, sorry for being late, working on a different story as well at the same time. With this specific one, with the U.S. Marshals Service, they partnered with a number of agencies, specifically Clayton County was involved in this, and a lot of these fugitives that they were after were out of Clayton County. So kind of an interesting thing here. They were able to make 78 arrests. A number of them were violent criminals, people wanted for murder, aggravated assault, rape, things like that. Let's show you some of these images right now. Obviously, that headline, 78 arrests.
Significant.
A significant amount of people were taken into custody. And officials say this was a targeted effort to go after the worst of the worst. And so investigators spent weeks trying to come up with their target list. Their goal was to obviously bring as many people into custody as they could. And again, as they focused on people wanted for murder, aggravated assault, rape, things like that. The people who are really doing allegedly bad things in our community. And so they really wanted to make sure they got that. And so when they moved in, they didn't just find people, as you mentioned, they found drugs, they found guns, 46 illegal firearms, 57 pounds of narcotics, and thousands of dollars in cash was seized in all of this. And the U.S. Marshals worked with a number of agencies. We know, obviously, Clayton County Police and Sheriff's Office, but they also had to go outside of Clayton County to find some of these people who were wanted. And so some of the suspects were tracked down in places like Fulton County. We know that for sure because Atlanta police were involved along with Fulton County Sheriff's Office. And the real test, though, comes next, according to officials. They say that they are going to be monitoring the data over the course of the next 90 days to see if crime actually drops in Clayton County. And so while dozens are behind bars, officials say their job is far from over. Let's take a listen.
Any fugitive operation acts as a deterrent. I think the presence of the law enforcement that you saw out there it could be a deterrent, but is also just a show of how serious we take these kind of crimes and are just wanting to get those individuals safely into custody.
This was a very significant operation for Clayton County because we took a lot of the worst of the county off the street.
Yeah, again, worst of the worst is what they're saying here. U.S. Marshals tell me that they do these sweeps a number of times a year, at least once a year, but they do it several times a year to be able to take different folks into custody. They reach out to different agencies. They work together to be able to make this possible because obviously over 3 weeks, 78 arrests, some of them for very violent crimes like murder, aggravated assault, and rape. Those are people you don't want on the streets, especially if they are in fact eventually found guilty of the crimes that they're being accused of. And so obviously the real news from all of this, the hope is that they can monitor the data and see if crime actually drops. And that would be really nice.
Yeah, that would be that's a big question that comes to my mind. Something else, Tyler, before I let you go, do they believe that these arrests and the drugs and weapons they were able to recover, is all of this related to individual, or I guess I should say separate criminal enterprise activity, or is it all one big case?
No, all completely separate. So and we'll use an example here. Let's say that you were accused of a crime. They file warrants. They couldn't find you. And then maybe separately someone else who you don't know, no connection with, also commits a crime. You are lumped into this case as they're trying to find people, but completely separate prosecutions, things like that. It just so happens that they did this massive thing and were able to find 78. They say that there's still more people that they weren't able to get during this operation into custody. So there's more people out there, and they say that they're going to continue to track those people down. And they say their days are numbered because their goal is to obviously make the community safer.
Tyler, thanks so much for bringing this to our attention, letting us know what investigators are looking at, and of course would be curious to understand if this is going to contribute to a drop in crime in Clayton County. So Tyler, thanks so much for your reporting. As we continue, you guys, let's head out to Capitol Hill because Congress is returning to Capitol Hill today with a full agenda. At the top of many minds is the lingering Department of Homeland Security shutdown. Republicans are hoping to push through funding without any help from the Democrats. And I want to get into how they're going to do that. But first, House and Senate Republicans really have to settle a fight among themselves. Before their recess, Speaker Mike Johnson put his weight behind the Senate's two-track funding plan. He had initially called it a joke, but it's part of a strategy to get Democrats on board. Democrats won't vote for funding without substantial reforms to immigration enforcement, and it upset House conservatives who took an all-or-nothing approach. Some Senate Republicans have another plan, which is funding ICE for the rest of President Trump's term, and a maneuver only requiring a simple majority, and no Democrats would be needed to pass that. As the shutdown drags drags on, DHS employees have been warned paychecks could stop once again. You remember President Trump signed an executive order, and that paid DHS employees for work since the shutdown started, but it's unknown if that's going to extend to future pay if this shutdown continues to linger on. This partial government shutdown is the longest in United States history, and it's not just TSA workers who were without a paycheck, but also Coast Guard, Secret Service agents, and FEMA as well, who are without. So we're going to keep you updated on that. But a lot is happening on Capitol Hill because it's not just this partial government shutdown, but as Congress returns to Washington today, 2 House members announced they're leaving their posts early amid sexual misconduct allegations. And 2 more House members are facing ethics investigations and could lose their seats as well. So let's get into it. After allegations of sexual assault and sexual misconduct, Congressman Eric Swallwell says he's leaving Congress. He released the statement you see on your screen where he apologizes for the mistakes in judgment he's made and says he must take responsibility and ownership for the mistakes he did make. Now, Swallwell was facing bipartisan calls for an expulsion vote over the allegations, as is Republican Congressman Tony Gonzalez of Texas, who admitted to having an affair with a staffer who later took her own life. In a Monday statement, Gonzalez said he would file his retirement when Congress returns to Washington today. 2 other House members, Republican Corey Mills and Democrat Sheila Cheerfulis McCormick, both from Florida, are also facing bipartisan calls for expulsion votes over ethics violations, or ethics allegations rather. But despite their announcements, it's unclear when Swallwell and Gonzalez are going to leave Congress. As it relates to Swallwell, the San Francisco Chronicle ran a story quoting an anonymous ex-staffer that claimed Swallwell sexually assaulted her while she was too intoxicated to consent. Now, since that initial Chronicle report, 3 additional women spoke to CNN with sexual misconduct claims, including accusations that Congressman Swallwell sent explicit text messages as well as nude photos. The Manhattan District Attorney's Office confirmed they're investigating some of the allegations that reportedly happened in New York, urging any other victims to come forward. And it does appear that there are other victims. Take a listen to what one accuser and her lawyers had to say from a news conference in California this afternoon.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lana Drews. In 2018, while I was living and working as a model in Beverly Hills, and I also owned a fashion software company, I had contact with Eric Swallwell on 3 separate occasions after meeting him socially. He offered me connections to further my software company, and I also had an interest in local politics. He invited me to 2 public events. I knew he was married at the time and that his wife was pregnant. He was my friend. On the 3rd occasion, I believe he drugged my drink. I only had 1 glass of wine. We were supposed to go to a political event, and he said he needed to get paperwork from his hotel room. When I arrived at his hotel room, I was already incapacitated, and I couldn't move my arms or my body. He raped me, and he choked me. And while he was choking me, I lost consciousness. And I thought I died. I did not consent to any sexual activity. Although I did not undergo a rape kit at the time, I disclosed the assault to the people closest to me. I also recorded these events in my handwritten calendar. The assault and its impact were later documented during my therapy sessions at a sexual assault center in Connecticut. It had a profound impact on my mental health. I self-medicated in an unhealthy way. I did not want to live anymore. I cried all the time for years. At the time, I was in a dating relationship with a boyfriend I was fully committed to. I've never cheated in my life, and I would never have engaged in a consensual sexual encounter with Eric Swallwell. That reality further underscores the non-consensual nature of what occurred. It was a politically unusual and intense time in Beverly Hills, and I was considering a run for city council, which placed me in proximity to political figures and events and added to the pressure to remain composed and silent. Eric was aware I owned a software company, and he spoke repeatedly about his ability to make introductions in Silicon Valley, referencing his political representation and influence there. I was not interested in him romantically, but I was interested in the business relationship and professional connections he offered to provide. My delay in taking action against Eric was driven by fear, not doubt. Fear of his political power, his background as an attorney, and his family law enforcement ties. I have never doubted what happened. I stand with the other women who have come forward, and I will be making a report to law enforcement shortly with my attorneys.
I want to say something now directly to Mr. Swallwell. Your recent statement that you are just not perfect, you are not a saint, is just blather and spin. Stop it. Your statement that this is all just a matter between you and your wife is laughable, if not for the fact that it is a slap in the face to the victims. Your statement yesterday that you just made, quote, mistakes in judgment is defensive and minimizing. Stop it. Own your behavior. Also, I can say briefly about Mr. Swallwell resigning from Congress yesterday. I do not, in my opinion, see that as an act of accountability at all. I see it as an effort to avoid the expulsion hearing that was coming, because once he steps down, the Ethics Committee no longer has jurisdiction to impose consequences on him. So even though he made some kind of a statement about I made mistakes, et cetera, very vague, not really owning up to anything, certainly not apologizing to women. I believe that was the reason why he stepped down, to avoid that hearing. However, there are other consequences, such as law enforcement, and that's what we're doing now.
So you were listening in as one of Eric Swallwell's accusers addressed the media today via a statement with her attorneys on either side of her, talking a little bit about what she says she experienced in her interaction with Congressman Eric Swallwell. Now, as we continue, we want to keep you updated on the investigation. She said that she would be filing a criminal complaint against Eric Swallwell, and we already know the Manhattan District Attorney's Office is also investigating allegations that allegedly took place in New York. So we're going to keep you updated as this progresses and as we learn more information about this story. So stay tuned. In the meantime, coming up here on Fox Local, we are going to check in a little closer to home with meteorologist Alex Forbes on your weather forecast here in Atlanta. If you're dying, you feel like you can't breathe, you're dealing with some kind of allergies, but the pollen count isn't high, I'm going to ask Alex about that when we come back. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstad here with meteorologist Alex Forbes. Alex, we have been talking about this drought, and I know we're about to take a picture of Lake Lanier. And based on the sand I'm seeing near this boat that looks like it's making its way.
Let's just go ahead and...
Yeah, let's look at it. That looks like the water's pretty low.
It is, and I've been using what are supposed to be those two islands off in the distance as kind of a metric there to watch the water levels here. And notice that you get that little sliver now between the two islands, making it one island. That's not supposed to be seen, right? So the lake is actually 5 feet down now, and we're checking out lake levels here across north and central Georgia, and we're finding that Lanier is at 1066. Now, that's not the depth of the lake, right? That's the elevation when it's at its current state. So 1066, you've got Hartwell that's down 6.5 feet, Lanier down 5 feet, Allatoona down 4.4 feet. Now, Oconee's up, but that's more of a controlled Georgia Power Lake than the rest of the Army Corps lakes. Nonetheless, we need rain, and that's just a good visualization to show that. All right, so temperatures right now, 82 in Atlanta, 82 over in Covington, 84 in Eatonton, 81 in Gainesville, 83 in Athens, and 80 over in Rome and in Dalton. Fox 5 Live Viper got the high-res satellite turned on. Not a whole lot going on. Got some puffy white cumulus clouds up to the north, and that is about it. So for the remainder of the afternoon, expect a couple more degrees to be tacked on to the high temperature before all is said and done, and our high fire danger continues as well. So don't go burning anything today. That is not a good idea. In the days to come, I am expecting to break some records. All right, that starts tomorrow with 88, 87 on Thursday, and then 90 on Friday. That will be the earliest we have ever hit 90 on record in Atlanta. That record stands now at April 23rd, and Friday is April 17th. We could really use some rain, and I don't have it. You know, a 20% chance on Sunday, and that's about it. Honestly, that's a little generous. So, record-breaking heat, the name of the game. There is relief in sight. We will get back into the mid-70s for Sunday and Monday, but until then, it's quite the shock to the system with 90. Although we were talking about on Good Day this morning, this is more of an Arizona, New Mexico type of heat. It's the dry heat rather than the humid stuff that usually our friends in Florida send our way.
So when I'm looking at a forecast like this, I think, you know, June. I think early May, late May.
Late May, June.
Yeah.
And that's the typical first 90-degree day, May 31st.
Yeah.
So, yeah, just spot on.
April. Okay, so as promised, Alex, I know a lot of people right now are dealing with this thing where all the yellow stuff is mostly washed away, you know, and okay, so if the trees were killing you, that's mostly over with.
Yep.
But now I was looking because I was like, okay, the tree allergens are in a much more reasonable level, but there are a lot of people who are really dying right now. Mold is super high. I don't even know how you get mold considering we don't have a lot of moisture right now.
You know, mold happens on the ground, and I know what goes on in the sky. So, yeah, I can't explain that one. But look, this is the count from Atlanta Allergy and Asthma. And they are measuring extremely high mold values in the metro area. And it's worth noting that all those tree pollens and grass pollens and weed pollens, we've had those around. So the mold is the only change over the past couple of days. Whereas, the tree stuff is still out there, but that's been here. So if you've noticed a change, it's likely tied to the change that happened with the mold count.
Okay, well, good to know. Alex, thank you so much, as always, for keeping us up to date. Okay, guys, let's move on. I want to get to the latest as to what is unfolding with the war in Iran, because at this point, we know that Iran has made a counteroffer on its nuclear program. And when it comes to this, tensions have been growing in the Strait of Hormuz, where the U.S. naval blockade is now covering all Iranian ports. Demining efforts are underway, and President Trump is warning Iran's Navy to stay clear on, or quote, they'll be eliminated. The Pentagon is now surging naval forces to the region, including a third carrier strike group, the USS George Bush. And experts say they're going to be needed if Iranian ships try to run that blockade. Diplomatic efforts also underway. Iran reportedly offering a 5-year pause on its nuclear program, while President Trump is demanding a 20-year freeze. The White House is now hoping this combined economic and military pressure from the blockade is going to force Iran to reconsider. But on Capitol Hill, Democrats are pushing a new war powers resolution, and that could limit the president's options. They claim the best way to contain Iran's nuclear program is to return to the original deal signed by former President Obama. Iran says the next round of talks will happen later this week or early next week. Diplomats are hoping to extend the ceasefire so those can continue. Qatar is calling for the immediate resumption of maritime activity through the Strait of Hormuz and says they will not accept any pre-imposed conditions on the strait's reopening. Take a listen.
Security of the Strait of Hormuz, the reality of the Strait of Hormuz cannot be harmed by any escalatory moves by any party. This is condemned internationally, and we have stood against any attempt to politicize or use the Strait of Hormuz in this conflict or any other conflict. And therefore, of course, we are calling for the immediate resumption of maritime activity through the strait, and we do not accept any pre-imposed conditions on opening the strait. We are of course, aware of the need for a regional discussion, a regional solution when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, and this is why we are engaging with all our partners here in the region and beyond regarding the strait.
Basically, what Al-Ansari was saying is that at the end of the day, the Strait of Hormuz affects a lot of different countries in the region. It's not just an Iran and United States issue, but a lot of countries there within the Persian Gulf region should be able to have a say in how the strait is controlled, especially considering so much of the world's oil supply and other key items like fertilizer and other goods move through that key waterway. So we'll keep you updated as negotiations continue between Iran and the United States. But I'm looking at our time here real quick, you guys, and I'm looking off to my right and I see Kevin Stewart standing by. So that means coming up next, we are going to check in with Kevin about the growth we're seeing in North Georgia. Talked a little bit about it at 1 o'clock, how there is this tech corridor that's fueling this expansion here in the northern part of our state. So we're going to check in with him on how it all works coming up next. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel Onstadt. Thanks so much for being here. You know, we talk about the growth that we see here in North Georgia and in the metro Atlanta area, but this growth is really being fueled north of Atlanta. And our Kevin Stewart joins us live to talk a little bit about how we're seeing this and why. Kevin, I understand there's this tech corridor that seems to be involved in this. Clue us into what you were finding out from the people you spoke with today.
Yeah, you know, there are more than 40,000 professional and tech jobs right here in Alpharetta, and that is playing a big role in the growth that we're seeing along the 400 corridor, stretching up to Forsyth, stretching up to Dawson, stretching up even to Lumpkin County, which is, what, more than 65 miles from downtown Atlanta. That's the mountains. And I wanted to give you a good look at this. I'm going to put up a map for you, and it gives you a good idea of what we're talking about. This is the growth in population within the last 6 years, according to census data. And you'll see Dawson County has been up 36% in those 6 years. It is the fastest growing county in the state and one of the fastest growing in the country. And what's really interesting, caught me by surprise, if you look at Lumpkin County almost 9%, 8.6%, I believe. So you're seeing a lot of growth up that way, and a lot of that has to do with the jobs, the good paying jobs that you can find here in Alpharetta, and some of the growing manufacturing jobs in North Georgia. And people feel like they can get a good house, land, and property for not as much money in some of the northern tier counties, which people, you know, years ago, 25 years ago, would have never probably thought of moving because they had to have a job in the city of Atlanta or Sandy Springs. And now Alpharetta is poised to become the next big job hub in the metro market. I want you to take a listen, because we talked to the folks here in Alpharetta, we talked to folks in Dawson County and Lumpkin County.
Know that approximately 75% of the people that are employed in Alpharetta live within a 25-mile radius. So we see a lot of people from, you know, coming down south from Forsyth and even Dawson County.
Tell me about the growth here in Dawson County, Dawsonville especially, because that's where most of the growth is. What's driving all of that?
What's driving it is the home prices. Last year in February, the median home price was $415. Which you can get a very good bang for your buck up here.
Online jobs, especially with having the coffee shop, you get to meet a lot of people that are working from here, and they work in Alpharetta. They're in the office maybe 2 days a week, but that's a great place to live, and they're here, and they're in our community. They're spending local dollars, so it's great to have their impact.
Now, I did ask Mr. Taylor, who owns a coffee shop and an ice cream shop down in up in Dahlonega in the square. He lived in Lumpkin County, left, came back home to take over a family business, and he talked about the changes he's seen since he's come back. I asked him, does he think that you'll continue to see growth in that community? And he says you will, but he doesn't think you'll have anything crazy, because he says you can only develop the mountains so far.
Interesting point, because as we're taking a look at all the points that we were hearing from Jade, Austin, and Charlie, understanding, like you mentioned, Alpharetta is a great place in the terms of having extra land and more room to spread out, but you're still close to Atlanta if you need to come into, say, a big city. Do they expect this to continue to push out, or are there any limits to the growth that they're seeing?
Well, Alpharetta, typically people think of this as a residential area, but increasingly is becoming a job center as well, to rival in some respects Sandy Springs, maybe one day Atlanta. And so because of that, you can get a good job and you can move out further north if you choose, because as you heard Jade say, the median home price was $415, and she says that's for 3 and 2. And Austin, Mr. Taylor, said that while he does expect growth to continue in Lumpkin County, which is the home of the University of North Georgia, he doesn't expect it to explode the same way Dawson County is, because he says it's a little further out, and because of the mountains. He said you can only develop that area so much. So definitely we can expect to see some more growth, but how much growth will be very interesting. I definitely think you're going to see a lot more growth in Dawson County. As you saw in some of that video, lots of construction going on there.
Yeah, it was unique seeing that, Kevin, and getting a picture of something I don't often see, and just even in the last time I've been there, the different areas that have grown up, it's always incredible. So I appreciate the report today. Thanks for bringing this to our attention, and we'll see you again later this evening. So Kevin Stewart, thanks so much. As we continue here, I want to keep you guys updated on some headlines we're following in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. We have learned that the babysitter accused in the death of a 3-year-old baby has now now been booked for murder, has been arrested into the Fulton County Jail April 14th. She is one of the suspects in this Easter Sunday shooting that left 3-year-old Armani Lyons dead in southeast Atlanta. As we have been taking a look at this, we've learned that 71-year-old Barbara Edwards was booked, charged with murder, second-degree cruelty to children, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. Atlanta police had previously identified her. She was the babysitter, as well as another person, 35-year-old Jermaine Hardiman, as the suspect in Armani Lyons' death. And investigators have not released details about what led up to this deadly shooting. Hardiman has not yet been taken into custody as of this morning, according to police, but family members have been pleading for arrests in the days after the child's death. They've been expressing grief and frustration as they waited for police to finish their investigation, or at least arrest the people that police believe to be responsible. So we're going to continue to keep you updated as this progresses. There's been a lot of questions in the community as to how this violence unfolded and how that child died. The mother had to work Easter Sunday and left him with a 71-year-old babysitter. So just a really heartbreaking situation that we'll keep you updated on as it continues. Our Angelique Proctor is going to join us live with more information coming up here at 3 o'clock. Over in Dunwoody, officials are setting some guardrails for how flock cameras should be used. And this is really coming down to what guardrails should be in place to protect people's privacy. Flock safety cameras have been at the center of months of privacy debates in Dunwoody. And this new agreement ensures the city owns all data and prohibits the company from selling the data. It remains unclear how many federal agencies will eventually request access to Dunwoody's flock cameras, but this is something that police have been really going back and forth on, because Dunwoody has used flock cameras since 2019. It helps police respond to crimes and get to scenes faster. But the new agreement establishes specific guardrails for the city's relationship with the tech company and makes sure that the city owns that data and decides where it goes. Several residents attended Monday's meeting to urge leaders to reject the agreement. They cited privacy and security concerns, saying that Flock's building a national network of surveillance cameras, and they don't want to be vulnerable. So we'll continue to keep you updated as this progresses forward. On the other side, an attorney who worked on the deal, Jill Dunn, says that the agreement creates necessary boundaries. So this is something that no doubt we will continue to cover as we get more information. I also want to let you know about a story that we've been following here in Fulton County, as a federal judge has just denied Fulton County's request to force the FBI to hand over internal records about the seizure of 2020 election ballots. Court officials had wanted to know when the criminal investigation began and if civil litigation triggered this raid we saw back in January. The court had ruled that the law used to seek the return of the property is not a tool for extraordinary discovery of government secrets. So the federal judge had denied that request by Fulton County leaders yesterday, and it would have revealed internal communications and timelines regarding that raid of election records. And basically the reason, the judge said that the county could not seek that because it did not constitute extraordinary discovery of government secrets. So that's something we'll keep you updated on as this continues through the legal channels. We know that the Fulton County government has gone back and forth with the federal government trying to get those election items back after that raid. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, we're going to check in with our Chris Rosenthal on something called Footwork Fest coming up at 2 o'clock. This is bringing style, soccer, and some culture to Emory's McDonough Field, and we're going to check in on how people are getting involved coming up. Welcome in, everyone. I'm Ariel on staff. Thanks so much for being here on your Tuesday afternoon. Let's get it, because the FIFA spirit is coming to Emory's McDonough Field with some soccer style and culture. In honor of FIFA coming, this event's being hosted for Footwork Fest, or at least it's called Footwork Fest. Or Chris Rosenthal's out to show us what's going on. So, Chris, it looks like a good time, and especially before temperatures get so warm, what a great way to celebrate FIFA coming to the city.
Yeah, absolutely. It is getting a little bit warm out here, but yeah, Emory's having this event here, the Footwork Fest. Multiple different groups here are come together to throw this sort of in honor of, and maybe a little bit of anticipation of FIFA World Cup. We had Adidas here just a little bit earlier, showing off some of their custom shoes that they have, and some shoes that they've created in honor of 404 Day, and also what they're doing with FIFA to get ready here. But yeah, this is just a great way for students to come on out, gather. There's a lot for them to see and do here. I have Clinton here. He is with the Footwork Initiative here. And Clinton, tell me a little bit. We can walk around a little bit. Yeah. Tell me a little bit about what we have going on here today.
Well, this is really our culminating event for the year around the Footwork Initiative, which is a campus-wide initiative here at Emory University and also at our Oxford campus. And it's really for the students as they prepare for their exams coming in during Dooley Week. But we've been celebrating soccer here through a series of exhibits and different initiatives and events really since February, and they will continue on through the World Cup games.
Yeah, I mean, is this campus pretty excited about the World Cup coming here?
Yeah, I would say that they really are. We've had a great response, not just from the students, but also from the public around Atlanta. And of course, with our soccer teams here doing so well each year, it's just been really fun to see the spirit going.
Yeah, we have, of course, shoes is a big part of this. I mean, we even have some shoes over here, some different kind of kicks. So lots of different stuff going on here, huh?
Yeah, this is actually Kicks and Froze. This is one of our partners. It is led by a good friend of ours and partner of Melissa Carnegie. Say hello. Yeah, it's a lifestyle brand that we've been working with throughout the whole process of not only curating the exhibits, but also putting on these initiatives to reach students in an effective way.
I mean, you can't have soccer without having shoes, so that's
right. That's right. It's helped us talk about not just soccer, but also about the culture around soccer, the fashion, and how you identify with the sport.
Absolutely. Well, I got one of the students here, Sebastian. He's also part of organizing this event. I mean, tell me what we have going on here. I mean, we got this is like a vintage thrift store going on here, huh?
So behind you or right here, we have a whole bunch of vintage market. People were catering a whole bunch of great clothes for all the students here on campus. We got about 15 different vintage vendors, all giving the students a very diverse selection of a whole bunch of different clothing from a whole bunch of different eras.
Tell me, as a student putting this on, I mean, what went into this from your end here?
There's a lot. I think planning this, we kind of want to combine a whole bunch of things, which is why we got the farmers market over there. Obviously working with Footwork to help celebrate soccer, as well as a whole bunch of vintage, a whole bunch of things students love.
Are students here kind of ready for World Cup to come by?
I think so, especially this year with both of our soccer teams doing as well as they did, both making it to the Final Four. I think for sure we are ready. The energy is high, and we are super excited for the summer.
Absolutely. This is kind of somewhat of a regular event, folded into a bunch of other events you guys have, but this is kind of one of the bigger ones you had here?
For sure. Yeah, absolutely. This is our Dooley's week, so we have a week full of fun events in honor of our unofficial mascot, Dooley, who's a skeleton.
And kind of a nice break before you get ready for exams coming up, huh?
Absolutely.
All right, well, good deal. And how late does this go here?
This will go to 8 p.m.
8 p.m. here, started at 1 p.m. Did you expect this big a turnout?
Of course we did, yeah. We're celebrating soccer, of course. We hope everyone cops out. It's a great vibe, so yeah.
Awesome, good deal. Well, I know you'll be out here all day. We'll be here for a little while longer, looking around, maybe shopping around a little bit myself. And this is kind of cool. I actually just noticed this. This is like a World Cup 94 shirt, so that's kind of interesting here. So yeah, lots of interesting stuff here, and variety of different things for us.
I may have to come out and do some shopping. That looks pretty dope, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, it's right around the corner. Just come by after work. It goes till 8.
Okay, good to know. Yeah, some sick threads right before the World Cup and some stuff celebrating Atlanta. I like it. So until 6 this evening, and looks like a Yoda shirt as well. That's too funny. Chris Rosenthal, thanks so much for showing us how to get involved and make the most of this event before the World Cup. So, Chris, we'll see you again here coming up at 3 o'clock. As we continue it to you guys, let's keep you updated on some things we're following here in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. And I want to get you an update as to the historic moment from the Artemis II mission. The U.S. Navy successfully recovered the Artemis II crew and their Orion capsule in the Pacific Ocean after it completed its 10-day mission around the moon. And now some sailors who are a part of that mission are reacting to this historic moment. While the Artemis II crew had ended their lunar mission and landed safely in the Pacific, the mission for the U.S. Navy was just starting. They had to recover the 4 astronauts, and it was a highly coordinated multi-team effort. It included Navy corpsmen, doctors, and divers from the Explosion Ordnance Disposal Group 1. One sailor says that when they first opened the capsule, they heard a lot of screaming, but then he said you could immediately tell everything was fine, and it was really screams of joy from the astronauts. The team sailed about a mile into the ocean to stabilize and open the capsule, assess the astronauts, and get them back to the waiting USS John P. Murtha. They say it was pure joy as soon as they were able to get those astronauts and making sure that they were in good condition. The historic moment also not lost on the sailors who've been training since 2013 for this exact occasion, and no doubt they're going to be going through a lot more missions like this with future trips planned to the moon. But the capsule's being inspected in San Diego, and then when checks are complete, it's going to make its journey back to the Kennedy Space Center in Florida for NASA to begin to inspect, to understand what they need to change for future missions. So we'll continue to take a look at that as the investigation continues. Something else I want to quickly let you guys know about as we have followed this story since it happened. The FBI actually raided a home in Texas yesterday as it related to an investigation of Open CEO Sam Altman's home, an attack that was on his home. A 20-year-old man's been arrested for allegedly throwing a Molotov cocktail at Sam Altman's house in California, then later going to OpenAI's headquarters and attempting to break in. Daniel Moreno faces charges for firearms and destruction of property after the 2 incidents. The FBI raided Moreno's home in Texas yesterday, and investigators were able to share a little bit about what happened, and they said a lot of hard work went into trying to make sure that they were able to arrest this man shortly after that incident. So we'll continue to keep you updated there. As we continue here at 2 o'clock, you guys, we've got a lot more to come your way here at 3. We're going to be checking in with Tom Haynes here just straight ahead to get the latest as to what is unfolding. Tom, we have literally about 20 seconds, so what you got?
Well, Ariel, right off the top here at 3 o'clock, police searching for the gunman who shot and killed a 17-year-old. There's been a lot of gun violence across our city. This one involving a 17-year-old at a Southwest Atlanta gas station. This happened overnight. Our Annie Mapp is mic'd up and ready to go here off the top at 3 o'clock. We're going to check in with her with the very latest on the situation surrounding the circumstances about this shooting.
Tom, thank you, and thank you guys so much for being here. I'm Ariel Onstott. More to come at 3.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. I'm your host, Tom Haines, with you for the next live hour streaming here at the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. Appreciate you being with us this afternoon. A lot of bases to touch today. A lot of news happening on this Tuesday afternoon. We're going to begin with police searching for the gunman who shot and killed a 17-year-old at a Southwest Atlanta gas station. This happened overnight, happened on Metropolitan Parkway, where investigators are now reviewing the surveillance video they say shows exactly what happened here. Annie Mapp live at the scene. Annie, what are you learning from investigators this afternoon?
Hi, Tom. Authorities have identified the victim in this case as 17-year-old Rashawn Mackey. It's unclear what food delivery company he was working for when the shooting happened, but we know it happened outside of this BP gas station that you see behind me around 2 this morning. Now, Atlanta police believe this was a random incident. They say the shooter in this case appeared to be upset over something, and that led to those shots that were fired. Officers who responded found that victim inside the store with the gunshot wound to the chest. Police believe only one shooter was involved in this crime. However, they have yet to release any details on the suspect. They did say they don't know if the shooter had any prior relationship with the driver. They believe that male shooter took off on foot. Take a listen to what Atlanta police said.
Has been a rash of shootings, yes, you're correct, yeah. But this appears to be just isolated, this incident. You know, in the incidents we've had over the past week, pretty isolated incidents of known parties or an accidental gunfire on the juvenile. So yeah, it's been a week.
And Tom, as you mentioned, police said they are reviewing surveillance footage to try to see if they can identify a suspect and get a better understanding of what exactly happened here around 2 this morning. Of course, they ask anyone with information on this crime to please contact police. Tom?
Well, Annie, and police said it right there to you as you were looking for answers about this shooting, that there's been a rash of gun violence across our city really since Easter weekend. That officer seemed to indicate that these are isolated incidents. In other words, that it's just, you know, a strange coincidence that, you know, the warmer the season gets, the more situations like this may happen.
Yeah, Tom, and it's very unfortunate. We did speak to people who frequent this area. They say they are, you know, hurting for this victim's family, but they're trying to understand, you know, why young people are out in these late hours when we do start to see a lot of these crimes happened. I mean, we saw that happened this morning. We had the Piedmont shooting incident that happened just over a week ago. So there's been a lot of this, and I think the people in Atlanta really want to start seeing some movement and some type of solution to this situation.
Yeah, you said it, Annie, because where you are, folks are understandably concerned about their community, really everywhere in the Metro Atlanta area, about this latest rash of gun violence. We'll see if Atlanta police have any more to say about what happened here. Also, in the news here at 3 o'clock this afternoon, Annie, thanks so much. Police have a 26-year-old Atlanta man in custody following a violent shooting spree across DeKalb County. Now, investigators say that the suspect is responsible for 3 separate attacks Monday morning. 2 women were killed, and a 3rd victim remains in critical condition. Authorities tracked the suspect's silver Jetta using flock cameras. He was eventually taken into custody during a traffic stop in Troup County. They eventually found him. He's now charged with malice murder and aggravated assault. Police say the attack appears to be random, and a motive has not been determined. Rapper King Harris, the son of T.I. and Tiny, out on bond following an arrest in Gwinnett County on Sunday morning. Police said that the 21-year-old was pulled over for speeding and initially refused to get out of his vehicle. Harris was reportedly wearing a Pikachu onesie at the time, now faces several charges, including drug possession, obstruction, and speeding. This is a story that a lot of people have been following on our social media sites across the board here. Officers say they also found a firearm and a THC vape pen inside the car. Harris later took to social media to address the incident, comparing the police to the villains from the Pokemon series. This is the latest in a series of legal troubles for the rapper across the metro Atlanta area. Want to talk about a high-profile visitor to our area this afternoon, Vice President J.D. Vance, fresh from his negotiations overseas, is in Athens today. The Vice President and Erika Kirk, the widow of the late conservative youth activist Charlie Kirk at the University of Georgia, taking center stage as part of Turning Point USA's multi-campus tour around the nation. That's Christopher King, who's joining us live from campus. Christopher, tell us a little bit more about the Vice President's visits and the logistics surrounding this high-profile visitor today.
Well, first of all, Tom, we so rarely get to talk anymore. It's good to talk to you. Well, right now there is a handful of people outside here at Aikens Ford Arena. Vice President J.D. Vance will take the stage this evening inside here. He'll appear with Erika Kirk. She's the widow of Charlie Kirk. He's a conservative activist shot and killed last September while speaking at a Turning Point event in Utah. The stop is part of the Turning Point USA's tour of college campuses. This is an effort to draw in more young voters to the MAGA movement. The Vice President will appear at an especially rough stretch for the administration. Vance campaigned for Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. Orban is a MAGA ally. Over the weekend, he lost his bid for re-election in a landslide. Vance also led negotiations with Iran and Pakistan. Those talks failed to reach an agreement in the war with Iran. The Vice President is the likely contender, or is a likely contender for president in 2028. A contender for governor will also appear on stage, Lieutenant Governor Burt Jones. Now, this arena can seat about 2,000 people. The UGA Democrats say they plan to hold a protest, UGA Democrats say they plan to hold a protest outside here later this afternoon. We are live in Athens. Christopher King. Tom?
Christopher, interesting you mentioned the two trips overseas, the trip to Hungary that the Vice President took, the Iran negotiations. The Vice President seemed to come off those trips 0 for 2, if you will. We'll have to wait and see what happens with the Iran situation now that this blockade of the Strait has occurred. But any idea what kind of bases the Vice President is expected to cover with Erika Kirk, other than just a rallying cry for young conservatives to get out and vote and to be active in the Republican Party?
It's not entirely clear just yet, but as I was mentioning, this comes at a particularly difficult time for the administration because of the war in Iran. Oil prices have driven up, and because oil prices are going up, gas prices are going up, and the economy has not been faring so well either. The consumer price index, inflation has gone up, and of course productivity, the GDP is down a little bit. So this is a difficult time for the administration. So you can imagine that the Vice President is going to be trying to talk to young voters about some of the successes that the administration has had.
I'll let you clear your throat, Christopher, but really quick, tell me about the security apparatus surrounding a visit like this on campus there. I mean, do you see increased security presence, Secret Service? They usually have the bomb-sniffing dogs out there. What's happening on campus?
Oh, yeah. I'm so sorry, Tom. Have a frog in the throat. I apologize. But yeah, Secret Service is all around. Security is heightened. There are roadblocks pretty much at every step that you go around the arena and around campus. But police are out here. Secret Service is out here. When we pulled in to the area for media, we were greeted with police, and then they had bomb-sniffing dogs search around our cars and search around the area. And when you go into the arena, there is more security there. They've got bomb-sniffing dogs going around sniffing the equipment of the various news crews who are going inside. In fact, a lot of other news crews had to get in very early in the morning to have crews do what's called a sweep. Basically have Secret Service and bomb-sniffing dogs going through all that equipment to make sure it's all safe.
there on the campus of UGA in Athens. Christopher, it's allergy season. I think we've all been kind of clearing our throats and blowing our nose a little bit. Thanks for the perspective and the live coverage there from UGA. Christopher, thanks. Also in the news here at 3 o'clock this afternoon, 4 people are under arrest this afternoon after an attempted break-in at a Georgia Power facility in Coweta County. Our Doug Evans joins us now live here on the stream with the afternoon's new details. Doug, what more are we learning?
Hey, good afternoon, Tom. You know, there's a Georgia Power plant here in Coweta County. It's called Plant Yates, and it's on the Chattahoochee River, just between Coweta County and Carroll County. Really big plant. They had a burglary April 1st. Next day, April 2nd, a deputy pulls over a car, and there's 4 people inside, and some of the stuff that was reported stolen from that burglary. As you can imagine, those 4 people now are in big trouble with the law, and we got the latest this morning from the Coweta County Sheriff's Office.
So on April 1st, the night of April 1st, there was a burglary that happened at a Georgia Power building, which is on the property belonging to Georgia Power here in Coweta County.
How were you able to connect these suspects with them?
So the report was filed on April 2nd. The morning of is when they discovered the burglary had occurred. And during the investigation, later in the afternoon, April 2nd, a special agent with the Crime Suppression Unit made a traffic stop on a vehicle and located some of the stolen property from that burglary.
Was the traffic stop tied to the burglary, or was it first?
It was not. It was a random traffic stop, just a daily occurrence where all the traffic stops that occur. And during that traffic stop, the officer was able to locate some items that had been stolen from that burglary, which connected the individuals in the vehicle to the burglary that occurred.
All right, there you go. That's the latest from the Coweta County Sheriff's Office. I want to read you the names of those people under arrest. I've got to put on my shades because these are prescription sunglasses. Forgive me. Cody Bloodworth, Jessica Davis, Cody Swanger, Timothy Gore. They're all charged with burglary as well as theft by receiving stolen property, Tom.
You know, listening to your story and the headline, arrest for breaking into a Georgia Power building. I mean, and maybe you reported on this and I just didn't pick it up, but what on earth were these people looking for inside a Georgia Power building?
You know, those items are not being disclosed, interestingly enough, Tom. That was savvy of you to find that out and pick that out of my reporting. They're not saying. They are not describing the building, nor are they saying what was stolen, but they said they were glad to have those stolen items back.
And, you know, you're down there covering this beat so often. Is there any code to we're not saying anything and we're not telling you where it is and we're not giving you any more information?
I think the 2 words Georgia Power are probably at the forefront of that discussion.
All right. And they just want this to, you know, kind of be on the DL. Although it's kind of hard not to report that it happened.
Right.
Yeah.
And, you know, the arrests were made quickly. Apparently, they were very grateful to have the items back. And, in fact, I can tell you this, that, you know, some of the things that were stolen from that plant, people didn't even know existed out there. I'm not talking like uranium,
right.
Something like that. It was just kind of a surprise even to some of the investigators here at the Sheriff's Office.
I'm thinking, you know, and I hate to guess and speculate, but like copper, wires, you know, tools, equipment, things like that. No? All right. You know, Georgia Power likes to be in the headlines for one reason and one reason only. When they get the lights back on, you know, after a big storm or something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, we all love them, right?
Fair enough. We do, indeed. Doug Evans reporting live for us this afternoon. Doug, thanks. Also in the news here at 3 o'clock, I want to talk about the DHS funding situation. Remember how it impacted the airports and the security lines and TSA and what have you? Well, lawmakers still haven't agreed how to take care of this partial shutdown. Now, the president stepped in and started paying TSA workers, which got the airport lines moving a little bit better. But Congress is back in session now after this 2-week Easter recess, with a steep climb ahead of them to end this lingering DHS shutdown. Republicans are divided over how to move forward. Some Senate leaders want to fund Border Patrol and ICE through a maneuver that requires only Republican votes. However, House conservatives remain latched to an all-or-nothing approach to this. While President Trump signed an executive order to pay staff for past work, DHS employees are being warned that future paychecks remain at risk as the funding fight drags on here. Of course, that is an issue we will continue to follow. Congress is back in session, as we said, amid a growing scandal involving this man. He's California Congressman Eric Swallwell. He was also running for governor of California, but he's not anymore. He dropped out of the race, and now he's dropping out of Congress. He and Texas Republican Tony Gonzalez both say they're leaving their posts following serious allegations of misconduct. Swallwell, who recently dropped out of that California race, accused of sexual assault and misconduct by multiple women, alleging that he denies but admits mistakes in judgment were made. Meanwhile, Gonzalez faces backlash over admitting to an affair with a staffer. 2 other Florida representatives are also facing ethics investigations as pressure mounts on Capitol Hill. During a news conference in California, one of Swallwell's accusers spoke out alongside her legal team.
Hello, everyone. My name is Lana Drews. In 2018, while I was living and working as a model in Beverly Hills, and I also owned a fashion software company, I had contact with Eric Swallwell on 3 separate occasions after meeting him socially. He offered me connections to further my software company, and I also had an interest in local politics. He invited me to 2 public events. I knew he was married at the time and that his wife was pregnant. He was my friend. On the 3rd occasion, I believe he drugged my drink. I only had 1 glass of wine. We were supposed to go to a political event, and he said he needed to get paperwork from his hotel room. When I arrived at his hotel room, I was already incapacitated, and I couldn't move my arms or my body. He raped me, and he choked me. And while he was choking me, I lost consciousness. And I thought I died. I did not consent to any sexual activity. Although I did not undergo a rape kit at the time, I disclosed the assault to the people closest to me. I also recorded these events in my handwritten calendar. The assault and its impact were later documented during my therapy sessions at a sexual assault center in Connecticut. It had a profound impact on my mental health. I self-medicated in an unhealthy way. I did not want to live anymore. I cried all the time for years. At the time, I was in a dating relationship with a boyfriend I was fully committed to. I've never cheated in my life, and I would never have engaged in a consensual sexual encounter with Eric Swallwell. That reality further underscores the non-consensual nature of what occurred. It was a politically unusual and intense time in Beverly Hills, and I was considering a run for city council, which placed me in proximity to political figures and events and added to the pressure to remain composed and silent. Eric was aware I owned a software company, and he spoke repeatedly about his ability to make introductions in Silicon Valley, referencing his political representation and influence there. I was not interested in him romantically, but I was interested in the business relationship and professional connections he offered to provide. My delay in taking action against Eric was driven by fear, not doubt. Fear of his political power, his background as an attorney, and his family law enforcement ties. I have never doubted what happened. I stand with the other women who have come forward, and I will be making a report to law enforcement shortly with my attorneys.
I want to say something now directly to Mr. Swallwell. Your recent statement that you are just not perfect, you are not a saint, is just blather and spin. Stop it. Your statement that this is all just a matter between you and your wife is laughable, if not for the fact that it is a slap in the face to the victims. Your statement yesterday that you just made, quote, mistakes in judgment is defensive and minimizing. Stop it. Own your behavior. Also, I can say briefly about Mr. Swallwell resigning from Congress yesterday. I do not, in my opinion, see that as an act of accountability at all. I see it as an effort to avoid the expulsion hearing that was coming, because once he steps down, the Ethics Committee no longer has jurisdiction to impose consequences on him. So even though he made some kind of a statement about I made mistakes, etc., very vague, not really owning up to anything, certainly not apologizing to women. I believe that was the reason why he stepped down, to avoid that hearing. However, there are other consequences, such as law enforcement, and that's what we're doing now.
Some very serious words from the attorney of Lana Drews, Lisa Bloom there. Swallwell, for his part, going on X with that post. If we could put it back up real quick, because we heard a lot from Lana Drews and the attorney. Swallwell did respond. He did a social media post, a video, saying, denying culpability for what happened here. But boy, the emotional words of Lana Drews certainly drove home her point. And then following up, there's Swallwell saying, I'm deeply sorry to my family, staff, constituents for mistakes in judgment that I've made in the past. I'll fight these serious false allegations against me. However, I must take responsibility and ownership for the mistakes that I made. And he announced that he was going to resign from Congress, and that officially happened. I just found out about an hour ago. Lots more still ahead here on the 3 p.m. streaming hour. We're getting a lot in this afternoon. Coming up here, have you noticed how hot it is outside? That sun is shining across the area. Beautiful day out there, not a ton of humidity, but that's problematic as we are in the midst of a serious drought. Meteorologist Alex Forbes here to tell us if he sees any rain on the horizon as we continue. Welcome back to the 3 p.m. streaming hour. Tom Haynes, along with meteorologist Alex Forbes, guiding you through the hour here. Time to talk about our weather with Alex. Alex, you know, we have a tale of two weather situations outside. You want to go out and say how nice it is, because it is. Right. It's only 84 degrees, you know, no humidity out there. Perfect weather. But the problem lurks underneath in the form of, like, no rain for too long now.
Exactly, and it's what our friends in the Southwest deal with on a regular occasion. So think about it this way, right? We're comparing ourselves to Arizona, New Mexico in terms of the weather conditions. Well, we're seeing the same things that they experience now because of the weather conditions. 83 in Atlanta right now, 84 in Covington, and it actually feels like that outside. You don't have any humidity to make it feel any warmer with the heat index, but the result is the high fire danger that's going to be around for the rest of the week, and that's going to be because of the combination of the dry vegetation, the low humidity, and the winds. It is going to make, though, for a nice night out at Truist Park. Marlins back. See if we can take tonight, because we didn't take last night. Temperatures in the mid-80s, falling down into the 70s through the course of the game under clear skies. So that's the other thing with the dry air. We're able to see big fluctuations from lows to highs, whereas the humidity might hold you back one way or another.
Because it's nice in the morning. It's like a little chilly in the morning.
Yeah, and you might even want a light jacket. But if you're wearing a light jacket at 3 p.m. tomorrow, maybe something's off, right? 87 is what we're looking at there. Mostly clear skies. So tomorrow is the first record-breaking day. Our record is 87. I'm forecasting a high of 88, but I'm forecasting 4 days in a row of breaking a record, including on Friday, which takes us to 90 degrees, which would be the earliest 90-degree temperature on record for Atlanta. And this is not a short period of record. We go back to 1878 with this stuff. So that's how long it's been since records have been kept. The last time we hit 90 early in a season was April 23rd, 1980, and that's the earliest we have hit it. Now, I did up the rain chances slightly for Sunday, 30%, but still, that's a 70% chance of staying dry. So, not looking for widespread rain, but maybe a couple of drops are felt. And look, we'll take what we can get, because here's the deficit now. Almost 5 2/3 inches on the year 2026. And that's on top of being 8.8 inches below average for 2025. So when all is said and done, we need about 1.5 to 2 inches of rain every week for 3 months now to get rid of this. And I just don't see that happening, at least for the time being. The result has been the drought monitor. We've got extreme drought from Dalton over across Blue Ridge, Blairsville, northeast Georgia, down through Lake Lanier, which is 5 feet below full pool, over into the Classic City, down to the south side of the metro, Stockbridge, Lovejoy, Peachtree City, South Fulton, all in extreme drought. New measurements were taken, in fact, are being taken right now for Thursday's update to the drought monitor. Of course, we'll have that.
Hang on. Oh, go back to that map really quick.
1 sec.
Because I want to show you something.
Ready? Yep.
Yeah. So, okay. The red area.
Yep.
You guys all winter long talked about these wedges that would come in.
Yes.
Of snow and moisture. And it's ironic that those are the areas that got hit with the snow and ice and moisture, and yet that's the area that has the drought.
Yeah, I see what you're saying. With the snow and the ice, though, that doesn't add up to a lot of liquid water.
I get it.
So, yes, ironic.
Yeah.
If anything, this map, the shape of this map is actually a result of more rain in February in the western part of the state.
Gotcha.
Also on the south side, you know how you get that that basically okay area, if you will, moderate drought as opposed to severe. Remember, that spot got a ton of rain late January, early February,
underneath
several
us.
inches.
Yeah.
So if that hadn't have happened, then you would have that extreme drought connecting right there. So by and large, that's just kind of an exception there to that larger pattern, right? It's just that swath through it is technically in moderate drought instead of severe drought. But that's one of the things that I expect to change with the drought update. Right, we're going to see that
a wider area of red.
Yes, wider area of red, and it would maybe not this week, but in the next 2 or 3 weeks, we'll probably see a deep red introduced in northeast Georgia.
Yeah, I mean, you talked about the Southwest. They seem geographically better situated to handle droughts than we do. It's a deserty area in general. The vegetation is more apt to handle those kind of conditions.
Exactly.
There's no lakes that go down 5 or 6 feet. That's kind of what they're all about out there.
And you look at the drought monitor for them right now, it's not too bad. Where it's actually bad is in the mountains of Colorado. Look at this. That's going to be just outside of Denver. Up in ski country, right? Not a lot of snow.
It wasn't a good snow season this year.
But something else just to keep an eye on, right? We're obviously here in the southeastern United States. Look at Florida.
Ah, beautiful.
I mean, well, yeah, but they're in extreme drought everywhere. You know?
I couldn't see the color there.
Yeah.
I thought it was just the area of yellow and white.
No, yeah, it's
so
red.
they're
red, and then up here in the Tallahassee area in the Okefenokee Swamp, that's exceptional drought.
Wow, interesting. I wonder if any of this is going to be taken care of during the tropical season.
Yeah, you know, it's one of those, you know, it's weird to think about tropical systems as being beneficial, but it is something that can help a drought. You know, everything's got to benefit somewhere if you look close enough, and particularly if it's like a weak tropical storm where all it does is just rain. Now, of course, the downside is the ground's already super dry, so how much of that absorbs is not the entirety of it, but you know, at this point, anything can help. The good news is we talked about it yesterday. You know, there was the discussion with the hurricane season forecast with El Nino building in. In an El Nino pattern, particularly in the late summer and fall, we are typically wet. Typically. That doesn't guarantee it, but typically our rain will pick up. So
let's hope it does. Nice weekend, just getting warmer, and then Sunday is our big 30% opportunity for some rain.
Big 30% opportunity. It's also the cooler temperatures arriving. Look at this. 70s. You ready for this? 74 Sunday, 73 Monday, 75 Tuesday. Back to regularly scheduled programming.
Another beautiful week ahead, Alex. Thanks so much. Want to get you overseas, talk about the situation in Iran right now, where the blockage of the strait on the part of the United States continues in the area. Tensions escalating in the Strait of Hormuz as that U.S. naval blockade continues. It's an effort to sort of get Iran back to the negotiating table. President Trump issuing a stern warning to Iran's Navy to stay clear or face elimination, while the Pentagon surges more forces to the region, including the USS George Bush Carrier Strike Group. The military pressure comes amid intense diplomatic stalemates, Iran reportedly offering a 5-year nuclear pause, but the White House is demanding a 20-year freeze. Remember, we spoke about J.D. Vance being over there. He's in Athens, Georgia this afternoon with Erika Kirk talking to young Republicans or anybody else who wants to attend his event. He was over there trying to strike a deal and was unsuccessful. On Capitol Hill, Democrats pushing a war powers resolution to limit military options. Interesting, because the War Powers Resolution push in Congress just failed not too long ago. They reasserted the president's authority to do things like this. So let's listen to a Qatari foreign ministry spokesperson. Qatar has been huge in bridging these two sides together. It's been a waypoint, if you will, between the United States and Iran.
Security of the Strait of Hormuz, the reality of the Strait of Hormuz cannot be harmed by any escalatory moves by any party. This is condemned internationally, and we have stood against any attempt to politicize or use the Strait of Hormuz in this conflict or any other conflict. And therefore, of course, we are calling for the immediate resumption of maritime activity through the strait, and we do not accept any pre-imposed conditions on opening the strait. We are of course, aware of the need for a regional discussion, a regional solution when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, and this is why we are engaging with all our partners here in the region and beyond regarding the strait.
A Qatari ministry official talking about their part in trying to bridge these two sides together. No one wants this solved more than those in the Middle East, all right, because it's creating an unstable area for Middle Eastern countries, including Qatar, Saudi Arabia, the UAE, Bahrain, all those countries over there, while all this happens with Iran. So we want it to quash their nuclear ambitions, and the Middle Eastern countries want it to stabilize the region. Got to put Israel in there as well. So a lot of moving parts where it concerns Iran. Going to see how this unfolds over the coming days and weeks. Lots still to come as we continue this afternoon We got an update from our Angelique Proctor on this situation involving one of the suspects in the Easter Sunday shooting death of a 3-year-old. That person now in custody. Angelique's going to tell us what happened here when we come back. Welcome back, everybody. Certainly grateful that you're here streaming with us for the 3 p.m. streaming hour on Fox Local. If you're with us on your mobile device, on our Fox Local app, we not only appreciate you downloading it and having it at the ready on your mobile device, but you're streaming the 3 p.m. hour here, where we're covering a lot of ground news-wise. If you're watching on one of your live channels at home, we're glad you're here as well, or on one of our social media sites at Fox 5 Atlanta, where we so enjoy reading your comments and feedback on the stories that we're watching. Welcome to you as well. Or if you're on the radio with us, 107.9 HD2 FM, certainly glad you are here as well. Let's get out to our Angelique Proctor, who's covering a story for us about one of the suspects in the Easter Sunday shooting death of a 3-year-old. That person now in custody. Angelique, you're live at the Fulton County Jail, a place you know well. What are you learning about this case?
Well, good afternoon to you, Tom. Atlanta police said all along this was an active investigation. And today now, one of the 2 suspects that had been identified on Saturday is finally behind bars. We learned today that Barbara Edwards was actually picked up by Atlanta police last night around 8:15 on Landrum Drive, and she was brought here to the Fulton County Jail. We are also learning more details about what happened because, as you may recall, police never really gave us a narrative, but we're learning some things that did in fact occur according to police through the arrest warrant for Barbara Edwards. Now, the family of 3-year-old Armani Lyon says that Edwards was the babysitter for the 3-year-old, and on Easter Sunday morning, about 12:20 in the morning, Armani was shot in the head at Edwards' apartment, and of course that apartment is in the 900 block of Washington Street in Southwest Atlanta. Now, according to the arrest warrants, we learned new information today that there were actually 3 adults present inside that apartment at the time of the shooting. We are also learning, according to the arrest warrant, that Edwards, in fact, lied to Atlanta police about who was present. The second person that was present is Jermaine Hardiman, who is her son. According to the arrest warrants, Hardeman also lied about his presence, saying that he was not present. But police said that a surveillance video showed that he was, in fact, present, and they learned that both of them lied about that. Well, we had talked with Trinetta Julian, who was like a grandmother to little Armani, and she says she still has so many questions.
I picked him up from over there numerous times, and he's been going over there. So what happened this night to make this happen? What happened? But it's all, I mean, if it's more to the story, it's all gonna come out. It's all gonna come out. Oh, I know my baby didn't deserve this. He should have been running around right now, enjoying this weather.
And suspect Edwards is 71 years old. She is a 71-year-old babysitter. She had an appearance in court here at the Fulton County Jail this morning, but she waived that appearance, which meant that she did not appear. She's charged with possession of a firearm by a convicted felon, as well as cruelty to children in the second degree and felony murder. Let me take you now to the courtroom.
Barbara Ann Edwards. Mr. McLean, does your office represent Miss Edwards?
We do.
And did someone from your office speak to her today and advise her of her charges?
We did.
Did you further advise her of her right to be present for a first appearance hearing?
Yes.
And did she subsequently waive that right to be present?
Yes.
Do you believe, based on either your own personal interview or the notes from your colleagues, that she's legally competent to make that extremely limited waiver for today only?
Yes.
All right. Did someone further explain to her that based on the charges, her bond will be deferred until such time it is heard by an elected Superior Court judge?
Yes, Your Honor.
All right. So she understands she will remain in no bond status until that time?
Correct.
So suspect Edwards is in no bond status. She was able to dodge our cameras today, but all other court appearances, she will have to appear. So we will continue to follow this case and bring that to you. And of course, Atlanta police are still very much working this case, working the streets, looking for Edwards' son. He is Jermaine Hardeman, as well as the third person, an unidentified third person that was in that apartment. Tom?
You know, it's just listening to you talk about all these people who police are interested in speaking to, Angelique, the 70-something-year-old allegedly involved in this situation, all surrounding this 3-year-old's murder. I mean, how all these pieces are coming together. Add to that this heartbroken person that you spoke to. You know, it's just such a bizarre set of circumstances, and at the end of the day, this 3-year-old child is dead.
And that really should be the focus, the death of the child. And that's one of the things that Mayor Andre Dickens has really focused on, and that's violence, particularly as it relates to our young people. And as we go into the summer months, he is doing a lot of different things to try to secure safety for our children, working with ministers, and there is a lot more to come, just in hopes of keeping Atlanta's children safe, particularly at a babysitter's house or in their own homes.
Yes. You know, anytime a child is involved in a situation like this, it's just so tragic and so heartbreaking. Angelique, thanks for the latest. As we continue here, the Dunwoody City Council has unanimously approved a new contract for flock cameras. These are the cameras that you see around town. They kind of look a little bit like this. Either they're secured to a post like this, or they're up on one of the black posts that you see along the side of the roadway. Why are flock cameras so important? Well, they help police track down vehicles that they're looking for, whether it's a carjacking vehicle, whether it's a suspect accused of something and is on the run, whether somebody's fleeing from police. They don't get very far because these things are even on side roads that you may not think about it. You think they're only on highways, but they are everywhere, and they're a useful tool for authorities to track down bad guys. The decision for Dunwoody follows months of debate over privacy and data transparency, so that's an issue too among a lot of people when it comes to flock cameras. We're always being watched. The new agreement ensures the city retains full ownership of all captured data. It explicitly prohibits the tech company from selling information or using it for advertising. Police have used the camera since 2019 to help solve crimes and respond to scenes faster. However, several residents voiced concerns at the meeting about the reach of these surveillance cameras. City leaders say that the contract adds necessary guardrails to ensure security moving forward. A federal judge denying Fulton County's attempt to force the FBI to hand over internal records regarding the seizure of 2020 election ballots. County officials were seeking answers on when the criminal investigation began and if the January raid was triggered by civil litigation. However, the judge ruled that the law used to seek the return of property is not a tool for uncovering government secrets. This legal battle stems from a January raid where agents seized more than 600 boxes of records from the county. Attorneys for Fulton County have previously claimed the search warrant was based on an affidavit full of lies, quote, a charge the government denies. The county now has until April the 27th to submit any additional evidence before the court makes a final decision on the return of those materials. A 20-year-old man is behind bars this morning after police say that he targeted the CEO of OpenAI. Investigators say that Daniel Moreno threw a Molotov cocktail at Sam Altman's California home before later attempting to break into the company's headquarters. Federal agents raided Moreno's Texas home yesterday as part of the ongoing probe. Moreno now faces multiple charges, including destruction of property and firearms offenses. During a news conference, investigators detailed the cross-country timeline leading up to the arrests.
I want to be clear. Attacks like these will never be tolerated in San Francisco, and anyone who seeks to do harm in our city will be swiftly arrested and held accountable for their crimes. You will hear from our District Attorney, Brooke Jenkins, and U.S. Attorney Craig Masakian, who will have more details on criminal charges in their respective jurisdictions. But before that, I want to highlight the work of our exceptional officers, who swiftly identified the suspect in this case and took him into custody. He is identified as 20-year-old Daniel Moreno Gama of Texas, and he is currently in custody in San Francisco County Jail. We are a safe city thanks to our officers and law enforcement partners. And this case illustrates our preparedness and ability to successfully navigate the unexpected.
I want to remind everyone that this case is active and is moving rapidly. So there are some details we unfortunately will not be able to discuss today. On Friday, April 10th, at approximately 4:12 a.m., San Francisco police officers from Central Station were dispatched to the report of someone throwing an incendiary device at a home in the Russian Hill neighborhood. Officers swiftly responded to the scene, where they met with firefighters and security personnel. The officers determined that a suspect had thrown a Molotov cocktail at the gates of the home before fleeing the area on foot. Thankfully, witnesses on scene extinguished the fire and no one was hurt. While on scene, our officers reviewed security footage and broadcast an image of the suspect department-wide. Approximately 1 hour later, at 5:07 a.m., officers from Southern Station responded to the 1400 block of 3rd Street, where a subject was threatening to burn down the headquarters of OpenAI. Officers took the subject into custody and immediately recognized him as the same individual from the earlier incident on Russian Hill.
All right, officials there talking about this attack toward the OpenAI CEO Sam Altman with the lobbing of this Molotov cocktail toward his home, and then the attempted breach of OpenAI's headquarters out there in San Francisco. Law enforcement agents saying they will not tolerate such acts and that San Francisco is a safe place. As we continue here on the 3 p.m. streaming hour, Emory University getting into the World Cup spirit today. Our Chris Rosenthal is there live, and we'll check in with him on the other side of the break. Hey everyone, welcome back to the 3 p.m. streaming hour here on Fox Local. I'm your host, Tom Haines, live in the Fox 5 Atlanta newsroom. You know, Emory University is getting into World Cup spirit today with Footwork Fest on McDonough Field. Chris Rosenthal there on the field, live for us this afternoon on the campus with a look at the celebration of soccer and style, we understand. Chris?
Yeah, definitely a celebration of soccer and style, because there's clothes here and vintage clothes and some other sneakers here. Earlier, Adidas was here. They had some really cool custom creations, some Atlanta-themed custom creations that they had, and also some FIFA gear. They had these really cool shoes, actually, that they made for 404 Day. But this is all an event kind of put on by the students here, as well as the Footwork Initiative. We also have a farmer's market over here on this side, so it's kind of a little bit of everything. It started here around 1 and goes until about 8 o'clock here today. And I'm joined by Clinton here. He is with the Footwork Initiative. And tell me a little bit about this event today. What's in store for everybody here?
Well, thanks for having us here today. Yeah, so really this is the culminating event for the Footwork Initiative here at Emory University, and it's campus-wide. It includes 4 exhibits across here and also across the Oxford campus. And this is really our celebration for students before they go into exams.
Yeah, and it also sort of ties in here with World Cup and the excitement coming around the corner, huh?
Oh, absolutely. So all the exhibits that are coming up in Footwork that are already on display deal with some aspect of the history of the culture of soccer, either at Emory or at Atlanta, and we're really excited about it. And so this is actually one way in which we talk about the culture, the clothes, the fashion related to soccer here with the different partners.
Yeah, footwear is part of that, and we have some footwear vendors here, of course, and yeah, I mean that's of course a big part of the fashion and the and soccer as well, huh?
That's right. So one of our really great partners is Kicks and Froze. It's run by Melissa Carnegie, who is also a curator for one of our exhibits in the libraries this year that talks about the history of Atlanta soccer. But Melissa Carnegie is here with her wares from Kicks and Froze, free giveaways for students, and also pointing them to the different exhibits that tell that story.
Awesome, awesome. I'm going to walk over here and Sebastian, real quick, I got one of the students here. I got about a minute here. So tell me a little bit about you put this on, helped put this on as well. Tell me about this from a student's perspective here.
Yeah, so what you see here, this is part of our Dualies Week, which is our annual Spirit Week every year. We have a whole bunch of stuff going on. Obviously, you just heard from the people running Footwork. We got some vintage over here for all the students. We have the farmer's market back here, which is just a whole bunch of food options for everyone. And it's just really a celebration on campus, just really celebrating kind of the end of the semester, a little gap, a little fun before finals, and we really just hope everyone enjoys it and has a good time.
Yeah, with a little bit of a FIFA theme too, huh?
Yeah, of course. Yeah,
of course. Awesome. Cool. I'll take a look. Thanks so much, Sebastian. I'll take a real quick look here. I mean, there's a lot of vintage clothes here and a lot of things here. World Cup themed. I mean, this is World Cup '94. Lots of soccer jerseys for everyone here to choose from. So, yeah, just a lot going on here. Excitement building for World Cup.
Good to see Emory getting into the World Cup spirit. Anyone can come to the fest, Chris, or is this only open to folks on the Emory campus?
Yeah, anyone can come here. I mean, it's an open public area here, and it's goes until 8 o'clock tonight. So
awesome.
Plenty of time to get down here.
So cool. Chris Rosenthal out there with students and folks from Emory University. Chris, thank you so much. And thank you for joining us here for the 3 p.m. streaming hour. I'm Tom Haines. Don't go anywhere. The news continues right here, right now.